Greetings and good day, YouTube and Twitch highlight watchers. How are you today? I myself am pretty excited to watch the Path of Exile Reveal stream alongside all y'all. I am joined today by a buddy. God. Hello, hello. Was that the Amanda show? Did you ever see that or no?
Don't think so.
Yeah, probably just an American show.
Well, I mean, we do have a bunch of American shit in Sweden as well. American cultures bleeds out everywhere anyway.
Yeah, like our stupidity apparently.
Oh, sadly. When I started hearing this like anti-vax shit in Sweden as well, I was like, no, stop.
No, you weren't meant to get this far.
This was meant for retarded people. And I remembered, oh shit, there's retarded people in Sweden as well. Sad.
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere.
7 billion people in the world. If you think about, like, you're 1 in a billion, there are 7 other people exactly like you.
Yeah.
Ain't that a weird thought to have?
Aren't we like extremely close to 8 billion now? I think we're like at 7.95 or something.
Oh.
I think we're very close to 8.
Now there's 8 people like you. We've added one to the list. I also have to ask if you've been keeping up with I keep calling the Johnny Depp defamation trial stuff.
Nah, barely. I mean, it's humorous and everything, and she's getting absolutely fucking reamed, but
by her own lawyers. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I saw that. But I also saw like, well, what's his face?
You have Johnny
the
Depp.
Legals. How he responded to that and said, yeah, how he stopped his own question.
Yeah, he objected to his
I was
own
like,
question.
it's very stressful and I had to think very rapidly. So like shit just.
I get that, but I was actually looking up information about this individual, and apparently they're primarily like a the type of lawyer that they are isn't normally that type of lawyer. They're normally for like, this is my property. No, the zoning laws say that this is my property.
Oh, so
that's the type of lawyer they are.
He's in a field he's not even used to.
Yeah, used to this kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes
But like, it's some of the memes that have come out of it where like he objects to his own question, and the judge goes, "But you,
it's your question."
Yeah, like the judge stutter stepped with their words. I've never in my life thought I would ever see a judge as like out of their element as they are right now. Like scratching their head and going, "Man, I've never seen anything like this before."
But it's like the most funny thing I found is like when Johnny Depp starts answering a question, he just pauses
to make exactly to be
like, is it gonna hearsay? Is it
hearsay? Okay, yeah.
No. Okay.
Right.
Carries on. It's like hearsay. Well,
there it is. Yeah, I saw that meme compilation as well.
Yeah. But I mean, he's an incredibly charismatic person as well. Like,
oh yeah,
it's gotta be so hard, and that's kind of an issue with law and people in general. Like, people are swayed by
that. By
they're not swayed by logic, but
they're swayed
emotion.
by exactly. I was about to say, like, in all honesty, it's one of those situations where I almost word it as like it's a play, right? I know it's not; it's a legal thing, but these people are.
But we got 2 actors over here, so
exactly. And I mean, from Amber Heard's showing, she's not a very good actor. Like, wow.
But at least not near Depp's level. But then, not many people are, honestly. So.
Well, I mean, she can't even fake cry. Have you seen that one?
Nah. Like I said, I haven't actually.
Well, it's not even just watching court TV or whatever it is. It's literally just going through the internet and checking the memes out because, man, I love memes. I really do. You can find out a whole history. Obviously, look up the real information, right? But like the history of the entire world, I guess, through memes.
Oh yeah, that one is great. Ow, ow, ow. Stop.
Cramp.
No, I mean, getting my ass handed to me a little bit in Grim Dawn.
Oh, Grim Dawn. Gotcha.
Oh. Reaction time.
Reacting to a reactionary person. Is this muted? Oh, this is muted. I have it. I've had it muted the entire time.
Man, now I actually gotta check if Asmongold is watching.
I think he's actually watching the. This is why I'm bringing it up. He's watching the.
Yeah, just
trial.
chatting. It's gotta be. No, it's actually on the defamation stuff. Just because we were talking about it.
Well, that's why I brought it up because I saw him talking about that, and I was like,
Holy shit.
so yeah. Greetings and good day, Grant Kirkland. How are you today? I'm joined with a buddy of mine watching this.
When they revealed the entire new map tree, and I was like, what the
I didn't understand any of
madman.
it. I didn't understand. This was like, oh my god, my brain. But now that I understand what it is, it's like, this is awesome. The Atlas wide path, it's awesome.
Yeah. It fucking... the reactions are warranted.
Well, I can't wait to see if I'm gonna have reactions similar to this, because now I get it. I understand.
Yeah. But I doubt they're gonna make anything insane as the fucking Atlas map. That was...
True. What really sucks is last league is gonna make this league just inherently quote-unquote worse because of the fact of how insane this was for everybody, you know?
But to be fair, the league itself, that was Nemesis. That was the league. And Nemesis wasn't all that impressive.
It wasn't. I do like the build your own boss concept. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It definitely needs a lot of work though.
Yeah. So if they make a great league together with this, well, now we're talking.
Like having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah. It was the same thing with you might have seen something about her Maven. She's around somewhere. When the league, when she was announced, well, released, whatever, that league was also kind of meh. I don't remember which one it was now, but because of Maven, like, it was great anyway.
Oh,
but
so
that's usually how they do it. Like they put in a minor league together with a major
change.
patch for the game.
Got it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
like once a year they make big shit.
It would be hard to like differentiate the league and the small change, though. You know what I mean? Or the big change.
Yeah.
Because like in my mind, that the Atlas change is associated with Arch Nemesis. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, they came together, but like I said, I remember the Maven update, but I don't remember what came with it. So those are gonna be separated after a while.
I'm preemptively seeing this like this is making me go, oh man, I can't, like, now that I see the passive tree, I'm like, oh, I can't wait until the like to which tree am I gonna go down this time? What am I gonna like this game?
Yeah, I love making builds. I literally spend hours making builds on the build maker.
I've started to do something similar to that.
Yeah.
With my like, just first it started with like just like little things here and there to figure out how I can make my build stronger, and I ended up figuring out a way how to get to like, I couldn't do it because I couldn't get to level the level I needed, but I think this league I can get my first 1,000,000 damage build.
Yeah, go for it.
I think the highest I got to was 600k damage.
That is a lot, actually. Like,
for my first
I don't
build
know
ever
what the
being
highest
a
I've ever
Cyclone
gotten.
build.
Yeah.
I mean, technically it was probably more if you take into account the rampage, but like,
yeah. But I mean, Cyclone is strong.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when Cyclone was reworked. You could like, oh, I farted and I did 2 million DPS. They have nerfed it since, but it was pretty wonky for a while.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do like a ranger type build or something this one.
Yeah.
Like after my main build. I might do 2 separate builds on this one.
Yeah, I usually make, depends, but I usually make like 3-4 every league. Sometimes they're like, yay, going through the leveling, go to maps. I'm like, nah, it doesn't feel good. Starts a new one immediately.
For me, it was literally just like because of how many different games I play. Over the period of 3 months, I got to mapping, got some lore about the Maven. I think I fought the first bosses, the Eater of Worlds, and the other one I think I fought.
Oh yeah, the star.
Yeah,
Whatever that one.
maybe. I don't even know if I fought them honestly. I got to the apex of the temple once. So yeah, I'm excited. Like I'm not like like. This is your fault. You did this to me. I got my leg shaking because if I get excited, like I have to move. So my go-to is to shake one of my legs. And I have to be careful doing that because if I shake my leg too close to my desk will shake and my camera will be like,
completely out of focus.
oh yeah. Oh man. I love how I came into this with this. Like this was completely new to me. I thought it was a part of the game to begin with. And now I'm realizing,
I didn't
oh,
realize
no.
how fucking massive it was.
Yeah. And now watching this preemptively, I understand why people are acting the way that they are. Because this was... And some of these reactions are great because it's like, it's not clicking, and then it clicks.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh...
Oh, they're having to process like, wait, what the fuck?
Yep, exactly. They're like, there's this thing of like, oh, wait, what's this? Wait, what's this?
Yeah, but they're also like, they're just fucking pumping shit at people, so like, they don't even have... Oh,
yeah, they basically like blunderbuss you in the face, and they're like, all right, now pick all the pellets out, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This means that we're saying goodbye to regional Atlas passive trees and hello to a single gigantic...
Oh, Core Carnage.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him play the new Warhammer 40k game today.
Oh, is that the
XCOM
like?
one,
How does it look?
It looks pretty good. One thing that I said... Oh, I'm gonna shut up now.
Understandable.
Thanks for joining us today as we reveal Path of Exile's next expansion, Sentinel, which launches on PC and Mac on May 13th and on Xbox and PlayStation on May 18th. Twitch drops are enabled for today's live stream, so make
Those
sure
wings
you follow
actually
the
look
instructions
fucking
below
great.
to link your account and earn your Rapture wings. In February, we launched Siege of the Atlas, an expansion that drastically changed Path of Exile's mapping endgame. It removed Atlas regions and Watchstones and introduced the gigantic Atlas-wide passive tree and 4 new pinnacle bosses to challenge. One other very important aspect of the new endgame is its modularity. We designed it in a way where it's easy to expand with more content, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Alongside the Sentinel Challenge League, this expansion doubles down on the best parts of Siege of the Atlas to give you ultimate control over your endgame experience.
Oh shit.
Here's what you can expect from today's live stream. We'll start with
I'm expecting nerfs to the Atlas tree because that was bonkers.
In detail, starting with how the new Sentinel Challenge League lets you control your level of risk and reward.
Game controller support.
We'll then move on to the improvements we have made to Path of Exile's endgame. We'll discuss modifications to the Atlas-wide passive tree, the introduction of 20 Atlas Keystone passives, new variations on pinnacle boss fights,
20?
and powerful unique items designed by the winners of our Siege of the Atlas boss kill event. Following that, we'll discuss the type of balance changes we're making, or more interestingly, not making in this expansion.
Okay.
What we're not nerfing. Calm the fuck down, Spurgs.
Quality of life improvements, and the full release of controller support for PC players. After showing you our latest supporter packs, I'll head into a live Q&A with community streamer ZD, where we'll answer
Throw money at them.
Once that
Shut up and
finishes,
take my
we'll post
money.
the expansion's full patch notes. There's a lot to cover, so let's roll the trailer for Sentinel.
This game is one of the games where I spent money on at the earliest. Like normally it takes me a couple hundred hours to put money into a game that's free to play. This one I was like, it takes $60.
In the wake of your power, something has arisen. Dark Sentinels, hungry for a share.
My little buddy! Yeah!
But these cruel constructs could be harnessed.
Okay.
Yeah, I was right! You got your money!
Bind them to your will.
When? Oh god, they're so big. What the fuck?
Test and tinker. Combine.
Oh,
and
yes.
reconfigure.
I love stuff like this.
And
Oh!
together, you will find your fortune. Some Sentinels are powerful. Others are dangerous. But in a world with shifting stars, monstrous threats,
Oh, what the
and
fuck?
valuable
Well, that looks like a bullet hell.
I fought that
will
boss. It was
need
hard
them.
then. That was like 10 times worse. What the fuck?
The Sentinels await your command.
Oh yes,
I
friend.
actually
gameplay.
am very excited for the Sentinel thing because freeze me
Yeah,
now,
same.
bitch. My Sentinel can still kill you. Haha.
I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so let's get started
Yes.
with a full explanation of the upcoming Sentinel Challenge League. Sentinels are ancient constructs that have been unearthed across Rayclast. In this league, you will collect these Sentinels.
Oh,
and
is it
attempt to
Minotaur,
harness their
Chimera,
great
and Phoenix?
But this symbiosis is not without risks. Once deployed, a Sentinel follows you, watching and waiting for you to enter combat. As you encounter enemies, the Sentinel will fire a beam that doesn't damage the enemy, but rather empowers them.
Oh, okay,
This
not
only
friend.
amplifies the
Little
difficulty
bastard.
of the foe, but also the rewards
Oh.
that it yields.
You little bastard.
There are 3 classes of Sentinels that you will find as you kill monsters in this league.
Hell
Storm
yeah.
Sentinels will follow you for around 30 seconds, empowering dozens of monsters before they dissipate. This is like a build your own breach or delirium effect.
I mean,
because
I'm
you
already
control
game.
what
I love
monsters you're fighting
breaches.
when you deploy the Sentinel, and through
Yeah, breach
various
is nice.
means that we'll describe shortly, you're also in control of how much the monsters are empowered. In contrast to
First there was
Stalker
build your own
Sentinels,
bosses, now there's build
Pandemonium
your own
Sentinels are
mobs.
designed for mass area of effect, and typically only fire one shot. But this shot really counts, chaining between monsters to affect an entire screen full of foes at once. This class of Sentinel can be very dangerous because it empowers so many enemies at one time. The final class, Apex Sentinels, can only empower rare or unique enemies. They fire fewer shots but have a much larger impact on difficulty and reward.
Arch
You start
Nemesis with
a
the
single
Sentinel.
slot to equip a Stalker Sentinel,
Yeah.
but as you play through the league,
Jesus,
you can
that
eventually
sounds
unlock 2 more
horrible.
Sentinel
I guess I'll
slots
die.
so that you can have one Sentinel of each class
Like,
equipped at a
actually.
time. Each class of Sentinel can be deployed only once per area that you play. You'll quickly develop various strategies for when each class of Sentinel is best used. For example, saving your Pandemonium Sentinel for when you're surrounded by monsters, or using your Apex Sentinel on the map boss or league content
Oh,
that spawns
right.
several rare monsters.
That's Siri.
With a full loadout of Sentinels equipped, in every map you'll get to empower bosses of your choice, juice up an entire screen at once with a button press, and choose the part of the map where it's best to empower a series of dozens of monsters. Sentinels cannot be damaged by monsters in combat, but do gradually deplete their internal power supply each time you use them. They can be found as you play and are incompatible with traditional Rayclastian crafting techniques. However, new Sentinels with different properties can be assembled from the depleted husks of others that you have used until their internal power supplies ran out. We'll explain that crafting
Salvage.
process in more detail later on.
Yeah, that's actually cool.
You can find magic Sentinels that have mods on them. These mods can augment the
Ah,
base properties
corrupted.
of a Sentinel, extending its duration, making it empower monsters faster, increasing the number it can empower, or even the degree to which the monsters are empowered, affecting both their difficulty and rewards. Some mods will add specific drops, such as currency items, essences, or unique items, to monsters empowered by the Sentinel. but at
Empowerment's
the
gotta
cost
be
of
how
increasing
much
difficult the
they
monster is to defeat.
empower.
You can also occasionally find rare Sentinels that have more than 2 mods on them. These are generally quite a lot more powerful than normal or magic Sentinels if you find the right combination of mods. The Sentinels you find as you explore Rayclast will become more powerful. Some particularly powerful ones with special properties can only come from the process of assembling new Sentinels from depleted ones.
And it doesn't look like we find out
While
how
the
much
Sentinels
it
you find
like
generally get
it
better
empowers
and
an enemy
better as
by.
you play through the league,
No,
you can
that's
also upgrade the behavior
that's
and
for
properties of
experimentation.
Sentinels through your Sentinel controller. The Sentinel controller is like a runic circuit board. It's what powers your Sentinels and allows you to customize them. There are specific nodes for each of the 3 types of Sentinel, so you can customize the properties and behavior of all of them, or potentially focus on your favorite base types.
So it's like a
As you play
A
through the
mini
league and kill more
passive
and more
tree?
enemies affected by your sentinels,
I
your
guess so.
controller will gain power.
Ah,
You
there's a
start with
maximum
4
to the board
units,
stuff.
which is enough to power your first sentinel slot and your first runic node. By the end game, you are able to work up to 30 power units, which is enough for almost half of the controller to be powered at once.
Okay.
Okay, so you
So
gotta
how do
gain
you choose which
juice
runic
from
nodes to
somewhere.
power?
Like
You
unlock
do this by
more
connecting them
of
together
those
with
little
filaments.
blobs.
Yeah.
Power flows from the top of the circuit through the filaments until it is all in use by the nodes you have connected. You can set up filaments in advance and they'll automatically be used as more power becomes available.
That's cool.
Moving filaments around has no cost. It's basically like a planning tool that gradually gets activated as you
I'm
gain
guessing
more power
they're
throughout
gonna
the league.
also
So you're not locked into a
announce
specific
this
plan,
for
you can
the
restate
talent
for free
tree,
at any time.
because that's been wanted
Some
for.
powerful runic
Yeah,
nodes require 2
that
filaments and hence
actually
allocate
excites me if
more of
that's
your
the
power
case.
when activated. Additional sentinel slots for other types like Pandemonium and Apex Sentinels, for example, require 3 filaments and hence 3 power units each. While it's almost always best to have all 3 slots powered so you can use all 3 sentinels per area, there are niche strategies where you want to unpower specific sentinel slots in order to have more power for additional runic nodes, or so that you can fully specialize in just 1 or 2 sentinel types. Just to reiterate, you can change your allocation as much as you like, so feel free to experiment. This
Quite
powerful
rare for
runic
them to
node
actually
allows
give us the
Pandemonium
freedom to use
sentinels to be used in
freely
additional
change
time in
stuff.
each area.
Instead of
While this
having to
is
use a
basically
currency
pure
item to
upside, you should
refresh it or
definitely
something.
plan around the fact that you'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
running their charge down pretty quickly if you use this node. This runic node prevents your Stalker Sentinels from empowering normal rarity enemies. While this seems very powerful at first because you'll just be empowering magic, rare, or unique enemies that benefit greatly from the boost to item drops, you should be aware that unless you have a large source of special enemies, you'll be fighting against the flight duration of your Sentinels and will probably want to build around increasing their duration. While the Sentinel controller lets you specialize how the different classes of Sentinels behave, it's generally not necessary to have to modify it for each new Sentinel that you equip. The runic nodes you have chosen represent your overall strategy for each class of Sentinel and rarely need to be tweaked if you swap one Sentinel for another. As you use Sentinels in combat across a number of
Man,
maps,
this
they
does seem
eventually
nice.
run out of charge and will become
It's
depleted,
kind of like a
but they don't need to be
brainless.
thrown
You
away
can
when
just
this occurs.
use it.
You can find power cores that let you assemble a new Sentinel with a full charge. This process disassembles 2 existing Sentinels and creates a hybrid of the 2, with their properties combined together. Right-clicking a power core opens up an assembly screen. If you insert 2 Sentinels and click the Assemble button, a new, fully charged one will be created.
Fucking Abyss is watching our stream. Your stream for the fucking what? I mean our stream.
Hey, technically you're associated with the
process is
content
a
that's currently
complex
being
and
created,
unpredictable
so
one that can either inherit properties from the input
It's-
Sentinels or
I
potentially
am the
produce
captain
new ones
now.
that weren't based on either of them.
Look at me,
For
I am the
example,
captain now.
the base type of the Sentinel could either be the left input Sentinel, the right input Sentinel, or an entirely new one that can't spawn naturally and can only come from this process.
Cool. Cool.
The same applies to its modifiers. You generally get a mix of modifiers from the 2 input Sentinels, but sometimes they have their tiers upgraded or entirely new mods added, occasionally including ones that are exclusive to the assembly process. The end result is that you're usually getting Sentinels that are similar in function to the depleted ones you have combined, but occasionally mutate in new ways, producing results that unlock more power and possibilities.
Alright.
The best Sentinels in the game will come from lucky combinations of depleted Sentinels that have just the right mods. It's also possible to assemble 2 Sentinels directly into one of the many valuable unique Sentinels.
Angel
Oh.
of Vengeance.
Burn power. Okay.
Specialized power cores exist, which influence the assembly process to greatly increase the chances of various interesting outcomes occurring.
Man, those
They
look
don't
cool.
guarantee anything, but are absolutely worth considering
It's just
if
a
you're trying to
currency.
hit unlikely
Yeah.
assembly results.
Pretty cool
You
looking
may want
currency
to
items.
accumulate a small collection
Yeah.
of depleted Sentinels so that you have options to
Man,
assemble
Path Exit
together.
is such a fucking
That's where
great
the
game.
Sentinel Locker comes in. It's a
God
free object
damn.
that you can place in your hideout that allows you to store stacks of each of the Sentinel currency items, as well as a tab full of each of the 3 categories of Sentinel. You can also store Sentinels in regular stash tabs, and they can be freely traded with other players. The Sentinel Locker's affinity for Sentinels will also work with regular stash tabs while this league is active.
Okay.
As I hinted at before, you can find or create unique Sentinels. These have powerful static properties, but because they cannot be combined with other Sentinels, there's no way to recharge them once they become depleted. They are essentially limited use items with powerful effects. Let's look at a few examples.
Okay.
First off, we have the Basilisk. This is a Pandemonium Sentinel that augments its wide area of effect blast with a petrification effect. Any monsters caught in the blast are turned to stone. Rather than being primarily useful for raising the risk and reward of combat like other Sentinels, this one is incredibly useful as an emergency button in combat. By activating the Basilisk, you can freeze most of the monsters around you in place, letting you take control of dangerous situations. This unique
Only
Sentinel,
usable
the
12 times,
hollow-eyed
though.
skull, is basically a headhunter in Sentinel form.
I
There are
probably
also a
won't
set
use
of
that
unique
one.
Sentinels
Headhunter
that are
is
designed to empower
an
specific
item.
named Atlas
Mm.
map bosses. If you activate one of these Sentinels while fighting that boss, it empowers the boss into an extremely dangerous version that is very, very rewarding if you can defeat it. The highly empowered boss fight is further scaled by whatever mods are on the map that contain it, so you'll want to be pretty careful with what mods you choose to use. On the other hand, its rewards are scaled by reward bonuses on that map, so if you're able to defeat one of these bosses in a juiced map, you will certainly be greatly rewarded.
Nice.
These highly empowered map bosses are the best source of recombinators, a new type of endgame currency item that can be found in the Sentinel League. Recombinators allow you to apply the Sentinel assembly process to two pieces of equipment of the same item,
Oh shit!
combining them together in unpredictable ways. This process can also rarely imbue your items with exclusive modifiers that don't normally spawn on that type of item.
Okay.
While the recombination process involves significant risks, you could combine the
That's
best
some
parts of two rare
potential
items together,
retarded
maybe
items
getting a lucky
Mhm.
being made.
explosive mod spawn,
Mhm.
and end up with one of the best
Holy
weapons,
shit.
armor pieces, or jewelry in Path of Exile. Sentinels can be deployed while engaging in other League content, so you can juice the risk and reward to quite crazy levels. For example, you could enter a Mirror of Delirium, trigger a breach, and deploy your Sentinel at the same time, causing the monsters to have 3 significant modifiers to both their difficulty and rewards. There are only a few specific areas that Sentinels
This is the first
can't
time
be
I'm
deployed in,
realizing that you
mostly
could
for technical
stack
reasons.
stuff
Those
like
are
that.
unique maps,
Yeah,
pinnacle
some,
Atlas
not all.
bosses, and the Simulacra.
Oh, and it's got tool as well.
So that's Sentinel in a nutshell. It's a combat league that gives you heaps of control over the exact risk and reward you encounter. It stacks with other combat-enhancing league mechanics, juices your endgame bosses beyond any kind of reasonable difficulty, lets you play with temporary headhunters, and might even let a few players assemble some pretty insane rare items if they're lucky. We're very much looking forward to seeing your
People will
stories
figure
after
out
you've
how
had a
to
chance
abuse
play
it to
with
the
next
level
week.
to make the items that they really, really want.
In addition to the
Hell yeah.
Sentinel Challenge League, this expansion further improves on the new endgame introduced in Siege of the Atlas, its Atlas-wide passive tree and pinnacle boss fights. The new endgame was designed to give you ultimate control over what kind of content you want to play and how difficult and rewarding you want it to be. With the Sentinel expansion, we are doubling down on what makes this new endgame the best one that Path of Exile has ever had.
Kind of agree,
This
honestly.
expansion
Mhm.
introduces 20 powerful Keystone passives to the Atlas tree. As you know from the regular passive skill tree, Keystone passives are usually dramatic and build-changing, with both upsides and potential downsides.
And this is for the
Each Keystone can
Atlas.
completely change the way you play
Yeah.
Path of Exile's endgame, and we have designed Keystone passives for many different playstyles and situations.
Oh, you see the chaos one.
Mm-hmm.
The second big change is that we have introduced these clusters of passives that grant you even more control over what endgame content you encounter. As you know, you can encounter many different types of
Oh,
Class
yeah,
3 content randomly within
they
maps.
suggested this.
These new passives allow you to prevent
Oh.
content you
I
don't
watched
enjoy
some streams where they
appearing
suggested
randomly,
doing this,
while
where they could just lock
simultaneously
out.
causing other content to
I'm
spawn
looking
at
at
a
it.
higher rate.
I love ritual
Yeah.
altars.
Aside from the
Legion
obvious
encounters, I'm
convenience
not
of only
100% sure
encountering
what
the
those
pulse rate
are.
mechanics that you choose, the system is great
I
for target farming specific
prefer-
content that you have juiced
Ritual
from
is
your Atlas
nice.
tree.
I've gotten some really good shit
Thirdly,
from
we
Ritual.
have created
Mhm.
incredibly difficult and rewarding uber versions of 7 pinnacle boss fights, which can be accessed
Oh,
via 6 new
God.
Keystone passives. These fights are designed to challenge the absolute best Path of Exile players, and suffice to say, they are brutally difficult.
All right. So I'll
Let's
never
start
Well,
with
fight
this
those.
is something
Keystone
people
passives and
will
boss
be.
fights.
Oh yeah, I'm touching those.
The singular
Sadly,
focus Keystone
I'm not
makes
that good
it
at the game.
significantly more likely
Yeah,
that
I was
your
about. I
favorite
was
maps
like,
will drop.
nope.
If a map drops that is not one of your favorite maps, it will be converted into a random currency item. This means that you'll exclusively see your favorite maps, and outside of that, more currency. This is the realization of the I only want to play one map thing that some players have. It also helps players who are over-sustaining maps and would rather just get extra currency items.
I will never get singular focus.
The stream of consciousness
No,
keystone
it's
prevents you from
fun for
modifying your
mirrors
maps
of
with
variety.
fragments or
Mhm.
scarabs. That means that when extra content is being rolled for your maps, each of the base chances is 50% higher.
That's pretty cool.
This is really useful for players who don't want to have to think about juicing their maps and would instead prefer to get a constant moderate bonus instead. The following 2 keystones are for very advanced players who have completed their Atlas trees and want to get a very specific outcome with all of their skill points. The Wandering Path keystone increases the effect of small passives on your Atlas skill tree and disables all notable passives.
Oh, interesting.
The Grand Design keystone
Probably not
increases
very
the
strong,
monster
though.
pack size in each of your maps by an amount proportional to
Because
the
the
number of
keystones are
notable
so fucking
passives you
good.
have allocated.
Oh, did you read that?
However, the trade-off is that small passives have no effect.
Small passives have no effect, but
No, it's the opposite of the other one.
yeah,
These two keystones
1%
are very
increase
good
of
at
pack
specializing into
size.
maximizing pack size and quantity at the
So you could
expense of
double
specific
pack
league
size.
content, which is great for general Magic Find builds or divination.
That's
card
fucking
builds.
crazy.
The Twist of Fate keystone changes the behavior
I
of
like
corrupted
passives
rare
too much,
maps in
though.
unpredictable ways. Upon entering a map, you may be sent to an alternative map of the same tier with randomized modifiers.
Oh,
All
that
of the
sounds
monster missions,
scary as
scarabs, and
shit.
turret crafts
Yeah.
applied to the map will
Did
also
someone
be
say
randomized.
reflect?
This process
That's
will not
literally
pick
just
an
roll the
outcome that was
dice and
already on the map, so it always shifts
find
it
the
to a new
fuck out.
property that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
This means that you can play all of the scarabs, master missions, and maps that you enjoy, and any leftover ones can be randomized to new outcomes, which are guaranteed to not be the ones you started with. This may have some interesting economic consequences as well, with players feeding bad scarabs or maps into the Twist of Fate lottery. The Wellspring of Creation and Dance of Destruction keystones change the ratios of monster life and damage in maps on the Atlas, so that they are more dangerous and less tanky, or vice versa.
Oh, okay.
These two keystones are designed to be remedial, allowing players with an abundance of offense or defense to normalize themselves so that they can handle the content better. If you find yourself in a situation
Yeah,
where
that is
you're
actually
waiting
really
for a
good.
weapon
Yeah.
upgrade or can't fix
Honestly.
your resistances,
Especially
then
for
you could allocate
people
one of
like
these
me that-
keystones to temporarily
Yeah,
make things
like
easier
people like glass
before
cannon builds.
unallocating it
Mhm.
later when your build is complete. 6 new keystones create uber
They look
versions
so
of Path
cool.
of Exile's pinnacle boss fights. Benarius,
I have fought
Cyrus, the Maven, the Searing Exarch, the
3
Eater
of
Worlds,
those.
and the Shaper and Uber Elder. who I
Elder,
guess is
not
now
okay. I
called the
haven't fought Uber Elder. So
Allocating
2.
one of these keystones
I
on your
then
Atlas
fought
passive
none of
tree
them.
ramps up the corresponding boss fights so that it is extremely difficult. Like, really hard. Harder than saying goodbye to Zana hard.
Come on,
Only
Chris.
allocate these keystones if your character is extremely powerful and you know you can handle the challenge.
But you came into
In
this league,
general,
but
the
Sana's been
encounter's
with us
rules are
for
modified to be far more
years.
punitive and
Oh
difficult.
my
In return, though, you can
fucking-
earn
I'm
some
laughing
very
because you
enticing
said, "Come on,
rewards.
Chris." I have no idea who that
Each of
person
the
even
Uber fights
is.
has an
Yeah.
additional high chance reward and a chance of getting a very, very rare chase reward. For example, the Uber Maven guarantees an elevated sextant if you're able to complete the encounter. Very rarely, though, you may be able to earn an awakened exceptional support gem as well, such as Empower, Enlighten, or Enhance.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
These keystones unlock crazy
Shit.
battles that will challenge our most aspiring players who are deep in Path of Exile's
And once
endgame.
again,
They add a
I
new
can
level of
imagine you don't
difficulty for
quite
those who want to
understand why
push
that
their
is
builds
of
even
significant.
farther than they ever have before.
no, I understand it's significant, but not 100%. Like, I'm at 20% understanding.
Many different types of endgame players.
I can
Some
explain it
glass cannon players
later if I
struggle with
remember.
defenses but have no problem with offense. Some players want to just play one map.
I
Some
know a
players
little
want
bit about the
difficulty to be
awakened
ramped
shit.
up and to receive rewards
Yeah.
commensurate with this added challenge.
It's more what
The keystones
gems
also let
that
you
can be
identify
awakened.
specific
Mhm.
reward, type of content, or playstyle, and know exactly
That's why I
how
said,
you
"Oh,
can get the
shit."
most out of it.
Oh.
There are a number of other new keystones that we'll reveal before release. Like the ones we have shown you today, these keystones require you to consider your endgame plan in an entirely new light. We're very interested to see what strategies you will use to try to conquer the new Uber Pinnacle bosses.
Well, this sounds fucking great.
Before we get into the new unique items, there are a few other endgame Atlas changes that we should cover.
Looks like they
We
took
are
away 2
removing Vintar's
passes.
Square and Doyani's Machinarium from the Atlas of Worlds because
Mhm.
they're not natural map drops.
Yep.
You can still get and play these maps, of course, but they aren't counted for your
Okay,
overall
yeah,
Atlas
that's
completion
nice.
anymore.
I figured they were
The
gonna do
Atlas
that.
passive points have been moved to rewards for defeating the Infinite Hunger and the Black Star.
Okay, so I fought the Infinite Hunger.
We've
I did not
rebalanced
fight the Black
Emulin's altars
Star.
and maps. They now feel a lot different than they
She's
did in the form they were
way harder in
introduced
my
in Siege
opinion.
of the Atlas.
She's way cooler though. That was a really
Their
cool
downsides now
fight.
feel more impactful, and they have more diversity of rewards, including new rewards. The intention is to fulfill the original design goal of having an ultimatum-like choice about whether you want to accept additional challenge for additional reward. We've
Okay,
added
it
better
seems
Atlas
they are
tree support for
keeping
them, including 2 keystones that can
Nemesis.
affect them.
Mm-hmm.
I saw
We've
I
also
saw the
rebalanced
balls,
drop
the green
weightings of
balls.
the new Pinnacle
They're from
Atlas
Nemesis.
bosses,
So.
changing
Arch
the relative
Nemesis.
drop weightings of their unique rewards and making them more likely to drop Eldritch currency.
Okay, so they're more likely
Currently,
to
in
drop
Siege
that
of the Atlas,
currencies.
Elder and Shaper Scarabs are basically worthless because their influence is worse than the free influence you can get from the Eater of Worlds and the Searing Exarch. In Sentinel, you can now apply multiple types of influence to one map. So you could have Eater of Worlds influence alongside a Shaper or Elder Scarab on a Conqueror map.
Oh,
these
I
okay.
actually
influences
thought
combine to
about
have a
that.
very large effect on that map.
Let's go
And this will
fucking
make Elder and
what?
Shaper Scarab significantly more desirable.
Okay.
Yeah, we've never been allowed to do that before.
The start point of encountering Shaper,
Oh god,
Elder, or
that's...
Conqueror influence and influence items has been raised to level 81 areas.
What the fuck?
We've
Oh,
also
God.
fixed an issue that was causing some players to skip playing most of the contents of maps. On the lower half of the Atlas passive tree, there were a lot of small skills that granted a 2% chance for the map boss to drop an additional map. This meant that it was possible to sustain maps by rushing to those bosses and ignoring every other monster in the map. We have retained the overall bonus, but have changed it so the map drops from a random monster within the map rather than the boss.
Oh, shit. The amount of maps that are going to drop is going to be insane.
Maven boss fight invitations. Currently, it's possible that you get hit with a bad streak.
Did you know back in the day they used mirrors on maps?
By the time you have enough bosses
No.
You can now
Yeah.
purchase these
They
Wow.
never pretty rare back then.
Now it's like, I can't hold all these maps.
Yeah.
They're going to have to expand map storage.
At the launch of the Siege of the Atlas expansion,
Well, there's a
we hosted
map tab.
competition that
I
saw
have
players
that map
racing to be
tab.
the first to kill Path of Exile's
I have that
pinnacle
map. I
bosses
will.
in
I have
hardcore
every
solo
tab, so
self-out
I have
battles.
almost every tab. I probably will
The main prize for
inevitably
winning
have
was the
every
ability to
tab.
collaborate with us on the design of a unique item that would drop from a boss in Path of Exile's endgame. 5 of these uniques have been designed so far.
This was a cool fight. I really liked this one.
Oh, apparently they're adding 5 uniques.
Very likely in 3.19.
Yeah, that was the awards for.
Call of
Ooh,
the
let's see.
Void is a new
Cool.
cold-themed ring that was designed by Lighty and will drop from the Uber Elder. It causes all damage to chill and causes chilled enemies to shatter on death, as though they were frozen. On top of this, chilled enemies deal less damage back to you based on the magnitude of the chill affecting them. The only drawback is that all incoming damage also chills you, but there are many ways to mitigate this, and in
Yeah,
some
you can
cases,
reverse
it's
the
beneficial
effects.
to builds
That's a
that
pretty
usually
damn strong
self-chill as part of some
ring.
crazy combo.
Yeah, that thing is
This ring is
strong.
useful for a wide
That's like
variety
the
of
most
different
useful
in-game
unique
builds.
I've seen so far.
Echoes of Creation is a new unique helmet, also designed by Lighty, which will drop from the Shaper.
Light is so
It's
fucking
designed for
good at
builds
this
that
game.
use Warcries and grants an extra use before cooldown to Warcry skills that are socketed in the helmet.
Oh
It
shit.
also grants more damage to exerted attacks
Oh, that thing
based
is
on the number of
whack
Warcries affecting
looking.
them.
Yeah.
It causes you to take damage when you use these attacks. The self-damage number looks really scary, but it can be mitigated by various mechanics such as armor, endurance charges, and life recovery.
Oh.
This powerful niche helmet is ideal for characters that try to use as many Warcries as they can. The third Lighty unique being introduced is
The
the
third,
Burden of
he's
Truth,
so good at this
a
game.
unique
Stop.
belt which will drop from Cyrus. Broadly speaking, this belt encourages you to have healthy energy shield and life pulse and helps you to achieve this by granting you additional energy shield based on a percentage of your maximum life value. The belt both lets some portion of chaos damage hit your energy shield, but also causes some non-chaos damage to bypass your energy shield like it was chaos damage. This is often an
Interesting.
upside because splitting damage over both life and energy shield lets you recover both simultaneously. The Supreme Decadence Keystone that this belt grants, which is previously restricted to timeless jewels, causes your life flasks to apply to both your life and energy shield at a reduced rate. Overall, this belt is extremely powerful for characters who can build to have a decent energy shield pool
That's
while also
defensive
using
as
life flasks
fuck.
appropriately. The fourth new item that we're featuring today was created by Waggle. It's an amulet called the Eternal Struggle, which will drop from either the Infinite Hunger or the Black Star. The amulet has a pair of Eldritch mods, and the one that is dominant will be based on which of the bosses dropped it. The dominant mod also controls whether the amulet gives a Malignant Madness or Culling Strike bonus. You'll need to work
If the
out which of
Syrian
the two bosses to
Exarch
farm
is
based on
dominant.
which half of the amulet you want to activate. The final unique we're showcasing today was designed by Steel Mage. It's a unique jewel that drops from the Maven. The jewel refers to a random keystone on your passive skill tree and enables you to be able to allocate passives within a radius around that keystone without them being connected to the rest of the tree. While the keystone itself cannot be allocated, this jewel allows you to
They have
jump across great
similar
distances
stuff
on
like
a passive
this,
tree in a
but
very
not
skill point efficient way.
like that.
Okay, holy shit.
In addition to these uniques that
that's
come
cool.
from the boss
That's
kill
really
competition,
cool.
we have added new unique items to the Uber Pinnacle boss fights that can be accessed through some of the new Keystone
Sauna.
passives. These include a different variation of Thread of Hope
In the
that can drop
Sublime
from Uber
Vision.
Cyrus, a new unique jewel which can drop from
That's
the Uber
hilarious.
Shaper, and special Forbidden Flame
Yeah,
and Forbidden
Shaper.
Flesh jewels which can roll
Sauna is
exclusive
Shaper's
Ascenders
daughter.
and notable passives that are not available anywhere else in the game.
Allocates 9
our
lives.
last endgame expansion was just 3 months ago, and we're already extending the
God.
endgame even further. This is our plan for every expansion leading up to the release of Path of Exile 2. Rather than having a much bigger
Oh,
annual
that's
patch, we
right.
plan to add as many endgame
Chris, have my
approaches
children.
to each quarterly expansion as we can, alongside its new challenge.
No,
league,
let me have your
so
children.
that there are new challenges to overcome
whatever.
every time you
Same
come back
shit.
to Path of Exile. One of the subtle but important aspects of our plan is to keep adding powerful new chase rewards to Path of Exile's endgame, so that there are always new reasons to complete aspirational content. The boss kill competitions are great because they not only create these rewards, but also immortalize the
Man,
achievements
that's
of some
oh
of
my
Path of
god.
Exile's best players.
Like I said, I thought
We're
that
going to
was
run
hard.
another boss kill
This
competition
is
at the launch of Sentinel.
just
To start, players
insane.
will have to defeat the Uber versions of boss fights that are
Oh
unlocked
my
by the special Keystone
god!
passives. We'll post full information in the lead up to release.
Holy shit, that looks
We're going
retarded.
to try something new with
That's
character
dumb.
balance in this expansion.
That's dumb.
We're intentionally making no
Yeah,
changes
they were
to
not
character
kidding.
balance. That
Holy
means no nerfs, no buffs,
fuck.
nothing. Every single build and build guide made for Siege of the Atlas will work exactly the same in
Oh
Sentinel.
shit.
You can start planning your league starter right now with full confidence about exactly how it's going to play.
Oh,
However, build
nothing.
exploration is still
Yeah, no
required
buffs,
in
no
3.18.
nerfs, nothing.
Sentinel introduces many difficult challenges, both in the
That's
challenge league
a
itself
first.
and in the endgame content. And you're going to have to work out a plan to create characters that are able to handle this content. But at this release, you can hit the ground running, knowing with confidence which builds are a good starting point for you. We don't intend to do this character balance freeze every release. For example, 3.19 definitely contains planned changes to character balance. Even though there are no character balance changes in 3.18 though, we have still made some changes to actual game content. For example, let's talk about the changes to monster modifiers. Magic and rare monsters in Path of Exile get a lot of their power from their modifiers. We came up with the majority of the monster mods over a decade ago, and only substantially added to them with the introduction of the Nemesis and Bloodlines leagues in 2013 and 2014. These mods are unfortunately showing their age. Many of them are unimpactful, and it's quite hard to quickly read their descriptions in the heat of combat. What we need is a new set of mods that are highly impactful in combat, keyworded with 1 to 2 colored words that are easy to read at a glance, and capable of producing dangerous combinations. This is exactly what we designed the Arch Nemesis mods to be.
Oh yeah,
Replacement
Reflect
for the core
used to
monster
be
mod pool.
mod before.
From 3.18
Oh,
onwards,
God.
all previous monster mods
Yeah,
have
so you
been
could just
replaced by
randomly
Arch
kill
Nemesis
yourself on a mob.
mods. No other part of the Arch Nemesis League has been retained, so there's no more inventory or recipe management. Magic monsters have 1 Arch Nemesis mod shared across their pack, and rare monsters typically have 2 mods. However, it's possible to encounter rare monsters with 3 or even 4 Arch Nemesis mods on them.
That is, however,
Combinations of
potentially
multiple
fucking
synergistic
terrifying.
mods can
Oh, yeah,
create
no,
quite
it is.
interesting situations in combat.
Because it seems like
Because you
Arch
can-
Nemesis
you-
just
Encounter a
show
monster
up.
with both Stormstrike
Yeah,
and
because you
Ice
can't
present.
control it like you
The
did
Ice
before.
present
And some
may
of
Yeah.
these
you off
fuckers
so
are
that you are more likely to dodge the
terrifying.
lightning
Yes.
mirages from the
That
Stormstrider
sucks, but at the
bolt.
same time, I hated the inventory
We've done a
management.
balance pass over the
And
Yeah,
the,
it
and the
was getting
recipe
annoying.
system.
Yeah, I kind of
certainly have
stopped
the power
dealing with
reduced,
it
particularly when
eventually.
applied to magic monsters. We have
It was
also
just too
changed how
much.
monster experience
Yeah.
and drops are calculated, so it's now far more about the difficulty of the mods than about the proportional size of the monster. Various Nemesis
So what you're telling me
Bloodlines
size
modifiers
doesn't
that were
matter.
not represented in the Arch Nemesis mod pool have been added in
Oh,
different ways.
it's not about the
Ho,
size.
ho, ho, ho.
But it's about the
How you use it.
motion of the ocean.
Motion of the
For
ocean.
Sentinel, we had a look at whether there were any easy ways we could update it based on what we have learned over the last 6 years. Our plan is to retain the model of 40 challenges with rewards that unlock as you progress through them, but with a goal of providing substantially more challenge to endgame players, and substantially more rewards to go with it, of course. In order to achieve this, we've crunched down the easier challenges so that the
I've
first
gone
reward
to
unlocks
24
after only 6 and the
once,
second
I
at
think.
12. These are equivalent in difficulty to 12 and 24 challenges from the old system, respectively. This change gives us a lot more space to ramp up to some incredibly difficult challenges towards the end, which will
Interesting.
take a lot of time and skill to complete. There are now 10 different rewards
look
you
at
can
that.
unlock, which comprise 2 complete
Oh, I
armor
like that
sets,
one.
each with a pair of wings. But be warned, the challenges you must complete are much,
I'm not
much
too fan of
harder
the
than
wings,
any that we have
actually,
ever
but
set
I
you
do like the
before.
armor.
Yeah, the wings look like they're
We've
they're
been
mirrored.
experimenting with
Yeah,
support
yeah,
for game
exactly.
controllers on the PC version
Inversed.
of Path of Exile. During the Arch Nemesis League, we began a beta for controller support and have been making improvements based on your suggestions and feedback. We're
That
pleased to
UI
announce that
scares me.
controller
Yeah,
support
no
on
thanks.
PC
I'll
will
stick to
officially
PC.
launch alongside the Sentinel expansion. This also means that Path of Exile is now fully playable on
Oh.
the Steam Deck for those of you who are lucky
God.
enough to have one so far.
That's crazy to think about.
Oh yeah, that was actually
Alongside finishing controller
hilarious.
support for PC,
They
we've also
announced
done a
they
push
had
on
their
various small
fuck
quality
it,
of
I'll
life
talk about it
features
later.
in this expansion, which we'll reveal over
I'll
the coming
stick
days.
around, of course, to talk
An
this shit.
example is that you can now choose whether your hideout portals can be accessed by one of 4 options: everyone, your friends, your guild members, or no one.
Oh.
We have also improved how favored maps are selected on the Atlas. Rather than having to click on the map on the Atlas for every slot, you can instead click on your existing
nice.
favored maps to quickly copy it to the new
Doesn't
slot.
matter a lot.
This makes
But
it a lot faster to favor many instances
Oh,
of the
yeah.
same map at once.
if you're not changed, then yeah.
There are plenty more
Oh, that's
small
how
QRL
favored maps
features
work.
crammed into Sentinel, and we'll cover these
Yeah.
over the week.
I didn't
leading
never
up to
touch that.
release.
I did.
Early in the Arch Nemesis League, we debuted Kerrick's Vault Pass. Purchasing this pass grants you access to Kerrick's Vault, where you can claim exclusive unique item skins as you complete map bonus objectives in the Atlas endgame. The Vault Pass for the Arch Nemesis League is only available for a few more days and will leave the store forever when this league ends.
Yeah.
There's no penalty for purchasing the pass late in the league after you've wrapped up your map completion. So if you are pleased with where you got to in Arch Nemesis and want to lock in your unique skins, it's not too late to buy your pass now. Thank you to everyone who unlocked Kerrick's Vault. We had a lot of fun putting it together and tried to think of fun ways that unique item skins
People
can
were
interact
so
with
fucking
gameplay in a
mad about
visual
that.
way. The purchases directly fund development of both Path of Exile 1 and 2.
About what exactly?
A brand new Vault Pass will launch alongside the Sentinel League. Like the previous one, there are 8
Kerrick's Vault.
exclusive unique
It's
item skins
essentially
that can be
Battle Pass.
unlocked as
People
you complete
freaked out
map
Oh,
bonus
for
yeah.
no
objectives.
fucking reason. For no
I mean,
reason at all.
People always freak out about shit like that. It's like just because it exists doesn't mean shit. They want money
To buy either the Arch
to
Nemesis
do
Yeah.
more
pass
shit.
now, before it leaves the store
You,
forever,
it's
or
optional
the
whether or
second
not you
one
want to
when the
do it.
expansion launches,
Yeah.
go to
It's not like pay to win shit.
Yeah.
Alongside
Like I said,
today's live
PoE
stream,
community,
we're launching
pretty
2 new
retarded
series
sometimes.
of supporter packs, the Arcanist and Reaper packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, plus several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available during the Sentinel League and will leave the store forever in 3 months. Every microtransaction you're about to see is entirely cosmetic and does not affect your character's progression or power.
Let's see.
I love how they have to
Do I
say
get-
that nowadays.
Contains 7
Yeah.
exclusive microtransactions.
They have been
The
very
cloak of elements
careful.
Till your
indicates the
tits,
power
they're
of the fire,
cosmetic.
Cold and lightning resistances
Yeah.
on your back. When a resistance is capped, the effect is extra strong.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty funny.
That's cool.
While wearing the Ring of the Black Star, your level up effect looks like this.
So when are they actually gonna add?
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
In the Timekeeper's hideout, you can use the Chronosphere.
I was gonna
to
make
change
a
the time
joke,
of day
but-
from dawn to noon to dusk to night.
Okay, that's cute.
Oh, teleporter. Goddamn.
With Chevron's tome on your belt, identifying items will cause exploding books to appear nearby.
I hate every
Sounds.
that's gonna give me PTSD if I ever have that.
Yeah.
That fucking boss absolutely destroyed me.
Oh, but look at that fucking.
That's awesome.
Look at that.
That's really cool.
With the Soul
Like
Stunning
it
weapon effect
blooms.
attached to your weapon, any attacks that stun will cause your enemies to have an out-of-body experience.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Drinking from the searing Quicksilver flask causes an explosion and sets your character on fire.
That also sounds kind of annoying.
Mhm.
The Reaper Pack series also has 7 exclusive cosmetic microtransactions. The Soul Harvester's Cloak's power is based on the number of enemies your character has killed.
Ooh, I like that.
With the Belt of the Hive Queen equipped, flasks you use will cause blood-sucking insects to appear all over your character.
That's pretty cool.
The Ghostlit Graveyard is a hideout where you can control the color of its torches.
Ooh.
It also comes with 6 exclusive hideout decorations.
So far, Reaper sounds
Medidrone
cooler.
will follow you around and use a healing beam on you whenever you're gaining life. Thanks, Medidrone.
That's cute.
Wind.
The Underworld portal
Wow.
opens a gateway to hell. Its effect upgrades in Part
Oh.
2 and again in maps, where it indicates what tier of map you're playing.
Oh, that
Oh,
is
okay, that's neat.
baller. Well, that's terrifying.
While wearing the Ring of the Exorcist, any spells you cast will exorcise the ghosts of your enemies if you crit. While using the Grim Reaper apparition, the Reaper will appear and cull any unique or rare enemies you slay.
Ooh, that's cool.
As I mentioned before, these packs are exclusive to the Sentinel League and will leave the store in 3 months.
Okay, I
They're
like that
available
actually.
right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and they directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1 expansions like Sentinel. We greatly appreciate your support.
So what is Path of Exile 2? Is it just a completely different game, or is it just
Thanks
basically
for
like
joining us and
Path of
checking out
Exile
today's
Plus?
reveals. We can't wait to see you in Rayclast on May 13th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's
Q&A
gonna be
in
an
a few
entire
minutes, so
new
please get your
campaign
questions
and
ready
everything.
in
So
chat.
Well,
and like a shit ton of new or ascendancies and stuff like that.
Mm.
There was something I was going to talk about, but I forgot about it. What fucking deal with?
As maybe Ziggity will the interview, the Q&A will go over top of some of the questions or thoughts you wanted to go over. I mean, for me, I'm all for Path of Exile 2 or whatever, as long as it's like more of an expansion than entirely different. Like I have to download Path of Exile 2 type of situation.
Oh
And
no,
like,
you keep both
yeah.
both versions like at the same time.
Yeah, thought so.
You can when you create a character, I think you can choose which campaign you want to play and stuff like
Cool.
that.
Cool.
And then the question begets, why the fuck would you play Path of Exile 1 campaign? Well, I mean, for you, you've done it like once. Me, I've done it like, I don't know, 50.
I mean, it's probably good. Like they said, it's gonna take what, a year for them to actually get through. So I have like probably a couple more run throughs of the campaign.
Yeah, and the new one just seems so much fucking cooler from what I'm seeing from it. So.
Well, I mean, like I said, it's gonna be a while. So I'm probably by the time I get done in quotation mark, or by the time they come out with Path of Exile 2, I'll be quote unquote done with Path of Exile.
Yeah.
Plus, as long as everything's good, I it's the same thought. Why would I stick with Path of Exile 1 when 2 is better?
I'm pretty sure it's like they're just gonna merge. Like one is gonna bleed into two.
Exactly,
Like,
and
you're not gonna
basically
keep one.
anybody who plays Path of Exile 1 would just be playing it to have a neutered experience. And some people
or
like that.
nostalgia or whatever.
Yeah. Some people like that.
Or people, if the campaign we have now happens to be faster, then people are gonna play that one because it's faster.
People figure out ways to make it faster.
Yeah.
I mean, the very first time I went through the campaign, it took me way longer than it would take you because I wanted to learn about all the lore of the game and stuff like that. And it's a really interesting world. Raid class.
I'm pretty slow as well comparatively. I have a friend that has completed it in. He's managed it in like 4.5 hours, I think.
G'day, Exiles.
Damn.
Welcome back. It is
Speedrunner.
here with none other than Chris Wilson. How you going this morning, Chris?
Hey, good, thanks. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks for hosting another Q&A and having me on to ask you some questions. Always a pleasure. I think we have to straight away jump into the last part. This is completely different to my planned order of events here, but does the Medi drone actually heal you? People are almost like pay to win in chat.
Oh no, it's just an effect that shows when you're getting healing, when you're getting healed from flasks and stuff, which you can see in the UI already, but this is just a different way of seeing it visually, and that's a theme for a lot of the new microtransaction, is trying a new visual twist on showing information that players already have access to.
Yeah, you guys are kind of stepping it up a little bit there.
With the cosmetics,
I
yeah.
wasn't really a fan of the blood-sucking insect one. Why would I pay money for that? That's horrible.
I reckon it's going to be low-key quite popular, because what's going to happen is the packs will eventually go off sale, people will have it, and they'll forget about it, and then you'll see someone covered in insects, and think, what is happening?
Oh no, that's my least favorite thing. Okay. So I thought we'd kick things off actually with Sentinel first. And I wanted to ask what inspirations led to us having a cute little drone league this time around.
Well, we tried not to make them too cute. So our motivation here was that we wanted to have a combat mechanic that was kind of like a build your own breach kind of thing, something where you can take combat with you and it doesn't interrupt the flow of gameplay. Normally when you're playing like Breach or Delirium, there's a point in the map where we say now it's time for there to be some dynamic combat stuff. And so here we thought, what if we make a mechanic where several different times during a map the player can choose the right time that they get to deploy their Sentinel and have juiced up combat for a while.
Like that.
Design like this happen where you come up with the idea first and then the mechanics of it follow on, or do you have we want to do this mechanically, try and come up with a theme for this?
We came up with mechanics first. In this case, the goal was to have something which tags monsters around you, making them a lot harder and more rewarding. And then from there, we realized we can have complicated mods on this. And it actually started off with a bit of an organic theme. Like our initial random idea, thrown together on a Saturday was that there was some kind of growth on the character that projects something at the monsters. And that's actually why So, computer scientists in the crowd will notice that the method we use for combining Sentinels is very similar to genetic programming, the concept of taking some properties from one, properties from the other, and having a chance of mutation. And that analogy.
So our Sentinels are going to have babies.
Because you're kind of like breeding these growths or whatever.
Breed for my
It ends up
entertainment.
working a lot better. Like,
It's Ark all over again.
Sentinels that follow you around, and the analogy for creating new ones there is that because the power is depleted, you need to create a new one around a power core, and you don't really know how the Sentinels work because they're technology. So you're kind of putting it together the best you can, and that's why you get a combination of.
How the hell are Sentinels going to work if you co-op with other people?
Nice.
Siggy's probably gonna ask, does he plays with his wife?
I'm interested in this idea of like fantasy technology, like ancient lost.
He usually
technology
asks
and
the
more
co-op
advanced stuff.
questions.
That's like a theme
Cool.
I love, and it's something that Path of Exile's been doing more and more over time. This sort of like ancient, otherworldly, or esoteric technology. Has this always been a plan for PoE's like world building, or is it something that's evolved over
Otherwise,
time?
it's probably the
There was a
map
bit of it
owner
there from the
that
beginning with the
controls it.
Right? They're a civilization
Most likely.
that clearly has a lot of interesting stuff going on.
Or the party lead.
That predates what the player is currently doing by thousands of years. And so
Going
we
back
established the
between
fact that they have stuff like floating machines already. Now, of course, the Sentinels are not Val technology. They're something else that players might be able to piece clues together about. But
Lore.
Established that there is.
Give me lore.
Honestly, a lot more powerful than what's going on.
I suspect Harbinger.
It's sad when ancient technologies like automatic doors are lost. Too bad. Maybe we'll rediscover such
Very
technologies one day.
About the weight of the door.
Oh no.
Full door?
Perfect. So how much harder do the
I know, that reference got lost on me.
enemies, and in what ways do they make them harder?
It's a
watching it.
So they make combat
Game of
harder in
Thrones reference, I
several ways.
think.
From your point of view, the monsters that when they attack you, they're doing damage and more stuff, and when you attack them, they're harder to kill. And this honestly varies a lot depending on the rarity of the monster. With a normal monster, which obviously has very low life and damage to start with, they're buffed a lot more percentage-wise than a rare or unique monster. So if we're applying, like, I don't know, this is me picking a number out of the air, like a 400% buff to a normal monster, we're certainly not applying a 400% buff to Katava. And it's in a way similar to Delirium in similar types of scale.
Fuck you.
Now, this also depends on the type of Sentinel. For example,
Katava.
the one that empowers the entire screen, the Pandemonium Sentinel.
I think I died. I think I died like 30 times to Katava. First time.
Probably the same. My total death count, I think, was almost 900.
And all of this is captured in that empowerment
Yes,
arbitrary number.
I died a lot.
On the Sentinel.
I don't think I've ever gone that high.
Well, I got to one point, this one boss was pissing me off, so I literally just charged in, did 2 damage to it, died. Charged in, did 2 damage to it, died.
Generally, more empowerment equals more damage reduction, and of course, better rewards. Now, the key thing about this is that we've tried very hard to make sure that empowerment is given to you proportional to any, extra bonuses and stuff you're getting. So it's like with maps where you get pack size and quantity and that kind of thing as you put harder and harder mods on the maps. The same thing is true for your Sentinels, that as you make better and better ones, they'll proportionally get better empowerment to go with it.
Okay. I like the idea that this is like ancient lost technology we don't understand, and also the mechanic is a little bit obscure as well. Was that kind of intentional?
We especially don't want people understanding how the combination process stuff works, but yeah, the general rule is Sentinels give you the opportunity to make combat a lot harder than normal, and in return you'll get rewarded. And there are some cases where the rewards double dip, which are quite interesting that I can talk about.
The Arch Nemesis stuff, I'm thinking about how they changed that with this league.
Like this has been a thing for as long as Path of Exile's been a thing. But how do you design something like that then that manages to keep some level of obscurity in a system like this?
Well, from a crafting point of view, the rules are all server-side, so we can come up with complicated random things on the server and hope people can't reverse engineer it. On the client, though, I believe there's nothing that they can reverse engineer that will relate to this damage stuff, so we pretty much get to make big spreadsheets on our end, implement it to do that model, and try as much as possible to make sure that players are rewarded for any additional difficulty they have. We don't want a situation where you get a bad Sentinel that's making combat harder and not giving you something for it. And so every bit of additional difficulty will give you additional item quantity, rarity, and experience, notwithstanding any of the other bonuses you get to item.
Oh, more experience. Okay, hold on.
That, like balancing point of
think about that.
obscurity versus players like if something is learnable, then players feel like they maybe have to learn it as well. Whereas the opposite is true, as if it's unlearnable in an extent. But at the same time, you have to think about whether players can sort of still engage with the mechanic and feel like they're having some level of control over it. Do you think there's like a level of player control here?
Well, we want to make sure that people understand the core principles of it, even if the actual math behind the scenes is intentionally obfuscated. And the principle here basically is, it's like with other things that juice the combat difficulty is, juice it as much as you can, but not too much, otherwise you'll die. And so there's an extreme level of player control here for a few reasons. Firstly, you choose when to deploy a sentinel in the map and which sentinel to deploy. Secondly, you choose which sentinel you're using, like what mods it has on it. Are you using a unique? Are you using just a regular magic one? Or regular normal or magic one? Have you managed to find a rare with good mods? You have your entire sentinel controller to spec how you want. And if, for example, the sentinel combat is too hard, there are ways in your controller to spec more in the direction of rewards and less in the direction of empowerment. And of course, respecking there is free, so it's relatively easy to dynamically adjust the difficulty, so it's never too hard for you, and you're just getting constant rewards from it.
Nice. How much is this affecting the reward then? Since we're using up these monsters.
The empowerment that affects difficulty also proportionally affects item quantity, rarity, and experience. And you can also get these additional reward icons on monsters. You'll notice in the footage, when the Sentinels empower monsters, occasionally you see like a currency icon or something appear above them, or a unique icon. Now, it's worth noting, there's a base level of monsters giving out these reward icons, Sentinels giving out these reward icons. So even if you have no mods on the Sentinel and no specking into anything fancy, you'll occasionally get reward icons. But there are lots of mods that will give you additional reward icons a percentage of the time. Now, these mods are factored into the empowerment number, so it double dips where, because the mod is on the thing, the monster is slightly harder, which means that it stacks more rarity and quant as a side effect. And so you get kind of a double dipping effect there, where you get twice as many, effective rewards.
Double dipping. How often do Sentinels drop, and where do we get them?
Well, you can find Sentinels as you play through the game, and they also drop from Sentinel caches, which are, scattered throughout the world. They're pretty often. The intention is not that you run out of Sentinels, right? You'll always have Sentinels to use. The question is whether you have good ones or not. And you'll notice they're corrupted, so you can't just drop alks on them. It is actually difficult to have a constant supply of
Okay, so all of them. I figured that
but,
was the case.
You can put the work in. You can spec into this stuff. You can, do clever combining.
They don't want you to be able to change those.
Any good player in Path of Exile will generally have good Sentinels that they can use most of the time. And I understand the concerns that this feels like a bit of micromanagement, but it honestly plays pretty streamlined. Essentially, you can use Sentinels for a number of maps, and there are lots available to drop more ones in as they're depleted. And if you'd like to Sentinel enough that you miss it when it's run out of power, then that's a really good candidate for combining, because if you combine two things together and you liked both of them, chances are you're getting something roughly similar out the other end. Occasionally you might get something worse, but sometimes you'll also get something better, and it could get a cool mutation on it where you get some mod which you'd never considered that suddenly starts like duplicating enemies when they're tagged.
I'm actually glad this is what the Sentinel does, and not help you.
Yeah.
We'll see some very interesting things where people are. This is the worst analogy to ever mention on Twitch, but they'll kind of be like breeding a bloodline of good Sentinels, if you see what I mean.
What?
I've been playing Crusader Kings recently. I know all about that.
Oh god.
Ark!
Nice.
What do you mean the worst analogy? The best.
How crucial is this, like, combining up of the Sentinels? And how do you, like, design a mechanic like this to avoid the, like, talisman, like, for the old players of PoE? Situations where these mechanics become really laborious because there's a lot of combining.
Like
So
how
you don't
Arch
really
Nemesis
climb
League
up
was?
Through the tiers, you find better tiers of Sentinels. So as you play through the game, you'll find better and better ones. You do combine if you want to have a chance at making Sentinels that have combinations of mods that you like. So the theoretical best Sentinels can come from combining. So in terms of base types, the way it works is there's a progression from low level to high level, just like bows or wands or something like that. And we also have a few other base types that can only come through combining. But once you've got it from combining, you can then potentially persist that one by combining it with other ones and getting lucky. The purpose of combining is when you're finished with two Sentinels you found effective, you get a chance to get something that's moderately similar to what you put in. And that really helps with sustaining rare Sentinels as well as occasionally getting good unique ones and so on. The talisman comparison is a good one, but we have learned very much from the problems of that league. And the first problem we had with talisman was that the item you were making was competing with amulets, right? It was hard to get good rare talismans, and it was easy to get good rare amulets, so therefore talismans were worthless much of the time. Here, it is hard to get good rare Sentinels, but nothing else can go in that slot, and so it's a bit of a slower item progression than what people are used to. We've definitely designed the combining system to be more of a crafting system, rather than talisman, where you couldn't do stuff on demand. If you wanted to do combining, you had to go and find some stones, do a whole boss fight, etc. Here, you can make new Sentinels wherever you want to.
The item crafting system where you can combine armors in a similar fashion, how similar is that to the Sentinel crafting? Like, will combining a bunch of Sentinels kind of give you an idea of how that's going to then work on items?
Yes, it's quite similar. Basically, we were looking for something you can do to make new, really cool rares, and we realized that we have this system that was entirely designed around the genetic programming of assembling new Sentinels, and it would work really well for rare items. And so we basically tried it, and we came up with a bunch of interesting mods that can go on each of the slots, and I think we haven't previewed any particular ones yet, but the announcement page at pathofexile.com/sentinel has a bunch of mods that people can see in the relevant hovers there, and there's some pretty juiced stuff. So to get people quite interested. But the intention basically is this is not meant to be the way that people make the best item in the game, but it may make some of the best items in the game if they're lucky. And we've had conversations internally that involve questions like putting items that are mirror-worthy versus items that are strange on the other side, and interesting border cases that happen with the rules to try to make items that are mirror-worthy come out that, anyway, interesting stuff going on with that. So
I don't even know.
Empyrean.
The Path of Excel players will really like trying to.
I'm just over here like
how that works and to get the best value for their recombinators.
That's me.
I'm excited.
Craft anything in
I love combining things together to get a new, better thing.
Yeah.
It's certainly a non-deterministic crafting.
They were pretty high end, I
Should be
think, though.
interesting, and I think especially if some of these recombinators make their way into standard, there could be some interesting things that happen after the league ends.
Yeah, I'm talking with Kapten Kanin, one of my buddies who actually introduced me to Path of Exile.
Just kind of going to be like very hard to understand.
It's very random, but I'll be more specific about roughly how this works, and this is probably the most information you're getting, right? So you put two items in, and it's going to pick one of the two base types. So, for example, it'll pick the left or the right. Now, with Sentinels, it has a chance to mutate the base type into a special one or to create a unique. We don't want the recombination process for your equipment to necessarily just randomly change the base type on you or to turn into a unique, because honestly, sometimes that's going to be worth less than
exactly.
the put in.
Yeah.
So, once it's picked a base type, for Sentinels, it uses that base
Put
type.
the words out of my
your
mouth.
items, it retains all the properties of that core base type. For example, any enchants you've got on it, any socket, corrupted status, implicits, all of that stuff. Catalysts or whatever. This all gets dragged along. Whichever base type was selected. Then for the explicit mod selection, it basically puts everything in a pool and selects some subset of it. So you get some mods from one of the items, some mods from the other.
Basically just watching the Path of Exile update, and they're giving us a lot of information. I can explain it later when I'm talking to Kapten Kanin.
With the tiers of the mods or rerolling values. And of course, it can add special mods, basically the mutation outcomes from a special pool. And that's where the really good Sentinel stuff is. You really want to get that available in the pool of stuff that you're combining, because then you get some really, really powerful Sentinels. Obviously, relatively optional, of course, the Sentinels.
I wonder how crazy some of these items can get.
Powerful with them. And the same is true for regular rare items.
Retarded.
If you are doing this basically recombination lottery, you get the ability to get keystones on body.
On a level of 1 to 10, how high on the scale are they?
That does sound like a lot of fun.
Probably 11.
I'm actually going to play on Sentinel for a little bit.
I'm excited to find out.
Just watch the fucking PoE community go to work.
I mean, I had one person in my stream one day talking about how if you set up the syndicate stuff right, you could make like 6-link white socket items.
Yeah.
It's worth noting, by the way, one of the pieces of
And I was like, really?
Internally, when people first see our promotional material before they've played the league,
I figured out how to do that myself.
Clear speed, what it is. This is going to be so lame because
you need to know what you're doing, though.
All the time. When they play the league, they
gotta have specific people at specific places.
Sentinels are very fast at tagging monsters and chain through monsters, and you get multiple beams, multiple chains, lots of tagging speed. And generally speaking, we've tested on very fast map characters, and if you spec correctly, there's no problem whatsoever with the Sentinels staying ahead of you. And of course, you have ones that hit a whole screen at once. The other thing to note is, and this is something that we didn't really emphasize there, is the Sentinels tag up to a specific number of monsters. So this means the one that tags a whole screen, you don't need to go and grab the entire map. Like, you don't have to have this lame playstyle where you pull the whole map to one place and then hit go to get everything tagged. It does have a limit. And this also means that as long as you're killing fast enough and the Sentinel's tagging stuff fast enough that you use its full limit, then it doesn't really matter if it misses hitting a couple of monsters due to you being so OP, because you'll still get full value out of that Sentinel.
Okay. How does co-op work in Sentinel?
Oh, there you go.
So basically, with co-op, we've tried really hard to make sure that it doesn't penalize players. Both players can use their Sentinels in a map.
Oh God!
By only one Sentinel at once.
Okay, there we go.
Tag more players, more monsters in an instance. when we're doing leagues, we
Yeah,
try
but
very
then
hard to
you're
make sure
using
that
more
our ways do
Sentinels,
that.
so.
We're not in any way penalized
But
for
it's only
doing
your
that.
own inventory of
So,
Sentinel. Yeah,
technically
true. You're not
speaking,
wrong.
Yes, playing in a party would let you tag an awful lot of monsters.
Yeah, that's I thought it would only be like the map creator or something, but I like that a lot more.
There's some good
co-op's
griefing
getting a lot better.
opportunities where, like, your guy you're playing with is waiting to tag the map boss with an Apex Sentinel, so you just hit your Pandemonium one faster than him and just tag the map boss with really weak one. This is a
Oh,
really
God.
important reminder for me.
That's fine,
Chris,
though,
you
because like
fucking
if you're
troll.
playing in a party, you should be like.
Chris is a very hardcore player
I'm
at arms.
sure my
That's
first
good.
experience with multiplayer Diablo 2.
They know what they're like.
was
They
with
experience what they're
Duriel
talking
and
about,
Paladin
not that they
games
just
back
know what
maybe
they're
2
talking
years
about.
ago. And I'm playing an Amazon, so Duriel dies, drops Worm Skull, grab it as fast as I can, and the Necro says, "Who got that?" And I say nothing. So that's the history.
He is a jackass, and I love it.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why we have.
Who got that?
To kill each other.
Cricket, cricket, cricket,
Honestly,
cricket.
it's nice for there to be some sharp edges occasionally.
Yeah.
I love
They're
Chris.
the ones always like such an easy thing to forget.
And he's the freaking CEO of the
Chat's right,
company.
this is ninja looting, not scamming. We didn't have a deal. We didn't have no. He wasn't helping me with Duriel. I was helping him.
Very different. Okay.
This is just my reward
Okay.
for helping
Yeah,
you.
this is
with
mine.
mechanics like this, when they're
I know.
itemized in some way, it inevitably comes up. You have to make a decision about whether they're tradable or not. So what keeping things tradable is often much more in the spirit of Path of Exile, I find. We've sometimes seen this actually makes players less willing to use the mechanic themselves, like for Expedition, for example, where people were selling all of their currency instead of using it. What goes into the decision to make something like Sentinel tradable?
So, in general, tradability is preferred, especially when there's other forms of progression. Like in Arch Nemesis, the mods that you had were your progression. And so, if we made those tradable, then you could literally skip the league, find some exalts, trade them for the ability to do the hardest Arch Nemesis content. Here, because you have your Sentinel controller, which powers up as you kill empowered enemies, you do actually have to engage with the league to progress with it, and therefore tradability is totally fine with the items in it. We also wanted to make sure with the combining system that players are able to trade for Sentinels that will combine well together, right? You know, there's one of those things where if you look at your pool of Sentinels and realize you don't have a good combine available, but you have a couple of Chaos Orbs spare, maybe you trade for something amazing and try to, something that's been depleted and try to combine it with something that you liked.
That's a very interesting idea of how this league works. Yeah, you can trade, but more than likely you're going to be trading depleted Sentinels.
Trade them to other people to get some currency that you can use to buy.
Like, I have no use for this anymore. I didn't like the mod.
Items you want to play with, or maps, or whatever it is you're looking
I kind of like that.
I feel like we're creating
Yeah.
cyberpunk scrap merchants now.
Cyberpunk
we're-
scrap merchants. Oh,
Yeah,
God.
we're those guys
Lots of
from
people were
Star
asking
Wars
about,
called
Headhunter,
the brown robes.
the Arch Nemesis mods.
Yeah, we're fucking those guys.
Those guys?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With this change.
just the same as before, right?
Fucking grab anything that
we
isn't
steal the
nailed
mods,
down
and then
to
you're
the
powerful,
floor.
and then we cry.
And even if it is, if they can pick up the floor.
Also,
Yeah.
you mentioned it earlier, everyone's asking about
Out with the crowbar.
I know that Bex answered this question recently, but for anyone who may have missed that, what's the news with Ultimatum?
We have a specific plan for Ultimatum, and we like this plan, and it's cool. And it's honestly cooler than the plan of let's just bring it back next league or something. And so we're going to do the cool plan, but that means you're not going to see Ultimatum for a little while. And I can't give
Those are some big. Oh, those are wings. I was like, those are some
Ultimatum, but
antlers.
it's not just being ignored, right? And we have an awesome plan for it.
You're teasing the Ultimatum fans because you keep looking at mechanics and being like, it's just like Ultimatum.
The good news is the Alter stuff in its current form will feel a lot more like Ultimatum, right? So they get to enjoy that.
That's what I mean. Yeah, that's
He did that on purpose.
On this topic, before we move on, we have apparently a lot of questions from chat. Okay. Well, HD, will there be any raw currency to refill the Sentinels? Just like if you have a good one, you just want to straight up recharge it.
We don't have any raw currency that does.
Okay, I thought that was the case.
You will be going through quite a lot of Sentinels, and this is intentional. And to be completely honest, I'm going to explain this, right? So we know that it's controversial that these things run out of charge, right? We're not trying to just hurt the players. But in the version of this that we designed, where you use them forever, it was really boring. You get an okay Sentinel on day 2, and you just use it forever. And because of that, we had to make the good mods really rare, and you never see them, and you'll never find a Headhunter Sentinel, and it was terrible. And so we tried this model where they run out of charge, and you're constantly combining stuff together, and you see the full gamut of the league. You try new experiences, and you get to see a lot of the cool mods because we just.
I'm okay with it running out.
Like that Headhunter Sentinel, the hollow-eyed skull. you're probably going to find one.
Yeah,
right?
actually,
Like,
you
it's
know Delve?
consumable. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter
Yeah.
balance-wise if you have it
So,
at the same time.
like, for
frame.
the longest
But this
time,
means
people
that
have
if you
said,
want
like,
to play with
just
every
make
map, you
Delve
trade for one
infinite.
over and over.
You can use Delve.
And so
And I'm like,
the model here
no,
with
you
the
won't like it.
recharging
I'm like, you know, we're
honestly
gonna
is
love it.
so much more fun.
Yeah, and
than
then
getting
made
to
an event
or something good enough a few
with
days later to
infinite
never
Delve,
touch the league again.
and people realized, oh shit, this is boring.
I wonder if there's like a double pen up the Sentinel if you combine two.
Yeah, I didn't really mess with the
complete
Delve as
fucking
much as I
told you
wanted
so
to.
moment.
But
Carry back
the earlier
asks,
you mess with
how do
Delve,
feel
the better
about
off it is.
thing?
It's just clicking on the sections basically. There are these grooves, you click on it, a filament appears, you click on it, it goes away. It's literally a planning tool, right? There's no items.
Delve is
it's making
Nico,
these
right?
Points. Basically, you have an
Yeah.
amount of power
Okay,
that will
thought
fill
so.
Yeah, it's the
filaments
only
where you can
infinitely
march to where the
scaling
power will go.
mechanic
And
in
so
the game.
basically, you could
Cool.
Google and find the best filament guide and spec it in on the first day and leave it.
And
Never
when it was
open the
announced,
panel
it was
again for the
special
entire
indeed.
league, and it will magically fill with power
Got it.
as you level up your Sentinel controller. Or you can go in there and tinker with it. And we're far more worried because a lot of people, when looking at the reaction, were saying this is complicated and involves micromanagement. But I expect, honestly, they'll just spec something that looks good, later change it once or twice, and be done with it for the most part. Unless you're
Yeah.
a player who really, really cares about micromanaging stuff, in which case, have a great time. To the point where we have insane rules to do with snapshotting to stop people like auto hotkeying something where it changes to one Sentinel spec. They release that Sentinel, then they change it to a different like. The abuse case makes this a living nightmare to implement, but we think we've got something that's not going to get in the way of players actually playing it.
I didn't even think about that.
Glad
They
we
learned
did it
from
before the
the
players
Arch
did,
Nemesis
because-
stuff
yeah.
too.
That's good.
From a lot of things.
Well, yeah, but it's nice to see them go. They changed Arch Nemesis completely.
Yeah. Yeah, they've done that a couple of
I
times
named
with
it
the
really
leagues.
long, Namvan.
I have a question.
De-
When is the fishing league gonna come out?
Other Sentinels.
Yeah.
Because they still, I know it's a meme. It's a meme.
But that
I did
doesn't
so
mean
much
you
research and all I found is it's a fucking meme. It's not real.
Go
Yeah.
experiment with stuff. This is the fun part of the league. We've got it in testing. It's going to be on alpha probably today for people who have alpha access. Do not email me for alpha access.
Just
Just
don't
saving
email.
We've got it going on alpha. We're going
No, they make a point of if you email him about alpha about beta and stuff like that, they don't give it to you.
And come up with some extra stuff. So yeah,
Cool.
We'll come up with some cool ideas.
Understandable.
I love the idea of combining
Yeah.
uniques. That's super fun. With these recombinations, Emrys asks, is there any way to connect influences on items together? Say you combine two different influence items together, can they do the same things?
Well, they're corrupted, right?
I'm going to do the dev check on that one to make sure I'm explaining exactly how it works. So, what's the deal with that?
God, I love dev check.
The long answer is click the non-influence base type. Then it won't be able to select influence mods.
Right. Okay. So when it's selecting base types, it picks one or the other, and if it picks one that is not influenced, it cannot select mods from the other one that have that influence or have influence, because then they couldn't copy across. So the influences have to match in order for it to copy the mod.
Okay.
And there's still so much
makes
crazy
sense.
abuse that players will work out with this kind of
Because
stuff.
there are
There's
items
some
that
cases here where
actually
people can
merge
some
influenced
players
items.
making the same
Yeah,
mods to
okay.
show
So they
this.
have
Even
both.
then, there's going to be a lot of rares that really have impossible mods on them that we are tolerating, and that's only the stuff we can think about. So, yeah.
I love how we know there are going to be people that abuse this mechanic.
Yeah,
oh well.
yeah.
I love how they
and
acknowledge that.
Yeah, and yet they know, and yet they miss something and people abuse it. That's just the way.
I mean, people are fucking crazy figuring shit out like this.
And there's a lot of us, and not a limited amount of them.
And like people that'll think of stuff that you could never in a million years with a team think of.
Yeah.
Like Keystones, for example, allowing us to only drop our favorite maps, and nodes that disable unwanted league mechanics and such. This and the new passive tree overall feels like a big shift compared to PoE of yesteryear. What's led to the dramatic change for PoE's endgame and like player agency levels?
So, a lot of the time when we change our mind about something or do an experiment is because Path of Exile 2 is in the future. And we want to make sure Path of Exile 2 is the best game for the players possible. And that means, generally speaking, if we've tried something and there's a possibility we want to do it differently in PoE 2, we will try the other thing. And so with Siege of the Atlas, we said, have a ton of control over all this stuff. And players loved it, and it went really well. And so we're giving a bunch more control here.
And it's making it to where everybody's end game is going to be different now.
Yeah. They're basically treating Path of Exile as a beta for the last couple of years.
That's kind of what's hilarious to me is like Path of Exile 2. Path of Exile? Friendship ended with Path of Exile.
With a PoE 2,
Yeah.
you can suddenly make
New best friend,
friends
Path
with
of
people who
Exile.
Otherwise, people might be a little bit more resistant to. So it's
Certainly.
that kind of-
We have a schedule for like I know exactly how many leagues there are between now and PoE 2, and we're putting the bullet points in of what we're going to do in these.
Can you
That's
can
really
you
helpful. Like,
inform the
this is like
class,
one way of
Mr.
doing it.
Wilson?
This
No.
is how many times we have to experiment.
He will
Like, I have
not.
hard mode
But
penciled
that
in
just
for
triggered a
one
lot of
release.
people.
Yeah, that made my brain go
When it's
click.
gonna
I
finish
want
up,
that
and
information.
how much time it's going to give us between the release of hard mode and the release of PoE 2 for us to take feedback into account and see if there's any
God.
tweaks we'd make to the itemization based on.
Oh yeah, you don't know about hard mode.
How many leagues are until PoE? Sorry, did you say?
As a number.
Fuck!
It's a countable whole number.
Oh, he's a
That's
troll.
the
I love him.
question for a later question I was going to ask anyway. How many leagues until hard
There's
mode?
probably a bunch of people in the room right now
Probably
panicking because you
Oh
mentioned
yeah,
it.
it's like the sweat meme, you know?
Yeah.
Why is your search history deleted?
That's in my list somewhere. Back to the Atlas though, since we're talking about the
I love how like
how successful overall do you feel that the new Atlas passage tree?
no
has
one
been?
man should have all this
Metrics
power.
measures success or
Yeah.
something like this,
He's the
and-
CEO.
So
He can do what he
I know.
wants.
He could literally just be like, oh, there's 2 more leagues before PoE 2, and that's it.
Feels
Yeah.
right to us. So when we did it, we
Yeah.
thought, this is cool.
But he also knows
And
what's
that's
best for
kind
the
of
game and
I'm
doesn't
sure if
put
players
his
Exactly.
fingers in
would have,
everything.
like, had a second thought about that, but we didn't look at metrics. I mean, here's an interesting thing, right? If you said to me, what was player retention like last league, I would have said, absolutely amazing. Best ever. People played more and all this amazing stuff. But if you look at the numbers, they quit in droves when Lost Ark came out because you can't miss the release of that game, right? And then Elden Ring came out. Like, there was no way that people were going to get the full in-game experience. But yet, I still feel that endgame had the best retention.
This is why I love GGG. They're connected with the
They're
community.
honest too.
Yeah.
So to some
Like,
extent, because
Elden
of
Ring
what
came
our
out.
community
Of
was
course you're gonna
about,
play Elden Ring.
RPGs,
Hello.
We're expecting this
Yeah.
is the actual release of the end game for them. Like, there are so many people who, and we're ignoring the fact that Diablo Immortal comes out in a few weeks. By the way, guys, that's not a game. We're going to play Path of Exile. Because we've been sticking around with the
Oh, the fucking rivalry between
with
Diablo and
systems for
PoE.
Lost Ark.
That's awesome.
That's not a game.
I mean, I know what I'm gonna be playing.
Yeah.
I've never played Diablo.
I think a lot of people feel
So-
that, like,
Just
this last league is like in some ways
fucking
the best
throwing
Path of
hands.
Exile's been, especially for me, like endgame, especially like best endgame I've played in.
Mortal
And
Kombat.
yet, other games.
Du-
come out.
du- du-
I'm
du-
like,
du-
sorry.
du- du- du-
No, I
du-
completely understand.
Did
And
it,
that
did
was
it,
unlucky
did
for
it,
us.
did it. Oh,
Raid of
God.
Siege did, have an uninterrupted 3 months, but life happened, and that involves other games. And with this release as well, it also gives people, because of the static balance thing where there's a balance freeze, it gives people the ability to just pre-plan what build they're going to play and just know.
Yeah, that's
it's
actually
always
kind of.
playing against
I
something
like
and
that,
have a chance to actually, like,
especially as a new
when
player.
our internal staff members worked out
Yeah.
due to lack of balance things, the balance is probably going to be the same. I started to see people like 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the end of the league start testing characters that are already.
Well, then I'm good
because
because VR headsets are pretty expensive if that's the case. So I'm still going to be sticking with Path of Exile.
To do the same thing, where they can pick a build, try it out, work out their plan, and know with confidence there's no surprise nerfs in there. And this went to the point where there are bug fixes, where I've had very long repeated conversation with people say to me, it's not a nerf, it's a bug fix, Chris, and we haven't put it in because technically it does affect how a build performs. And so we've left bugs in the damn game. Obviously, they're going to be fixed in 3.19, but you get to use those bugs again.
That's
if you want
fucking
to, that's-
hilarious. It's not a
Yeah.
nerf, it's a bug fix, but because of the
Really-
that's weird. That's a weird
Yeah,
thought
but it
process.
nerfs the skills.
No,
That's
what
funny.
were we talking about? I feel like we're getting sidetracked a lot today. It's great. Oh yeah. So
At least they acknowledge that, though.
The Atlas
They're not
Yeah.
just saying that
Awesome, I love that.
they're not changing anything and be like, "Oh, it's a feature."
Where, like,
Yeah.
the concept of tree
I actually
locking
love,
is
like, this-
like,
this-
the ease and cost of
Man, I really
research.
like these developers.
We're
Yeah,
pretty happy
he's
with
very
it. There's
playful.
There's the vendor trade that caps the price from things getting too expensive, and we're not seeing players constantly respecing the tree too often. To some extent, we want it to be expensive to respec, but it's turned out to be in a pretty good place. So we do want to avoid strategies where you respec between encounters and so on. But technically, if you have the wealth, you can do that kind of strategy.
The only time I had to respec is because my build was ass.
The regular passage trees in
Yeah.
that regard. The only kind of like
Yeah, it's your
pinpoint
first
that
one. That tends to be the
there
case.
is the
Yep.
idea of like different characters having the same shared.
And I'm so
asset
excited to
tree.
go into this
A
game
lot
from the
needs some sort of
beginning with the
progression,
knowledge
but
that I
like
have.
a bossing character,
Yeah.
a mapping character, it's awkward that you can't have like separate trees for them. Is that something
You
guys think
primarily
about?
solo through this game.
There's some discussion about this. Like, we do acknowledge that that's certainly a thing, but we don't have any firm plans for it. There's various repercussions, both from a implementation point of view and in terms of, like, obviously it lets you then have multiple Atlas specs that you can easily switch between for the cost of just hitting maps with a new character, which may be enough of a cost, but we don't have any firm plans.
Okay,
it's certainly something that's being
They must be
discussed.
stepping away then.
Okay. Do you guys
I
have
was asking if you do you primarily
for the Atlas
solo
tree? I think
in
you might
PoE?
be releasing something like that.
Yeah, primarily solo.
Is that something you look at all?
We can generate the data. We generally don't generate the data. Like,
I've been debating whether or not I want to do like a group or not.
And then we get a chance to see
how it is.
You know, we honestly balance based on actually how things feel a lot of the time, because it's just so easy to look at the stats and completely misinterpret how something, completely misinterpret the stats by accident. There are people who write in by looking at PoE.Ninja and say, because of this percentage, you need to do blah. And when we look at our data just to double check it, it's entirely different because of some, bad statistics used, or that's only high-level characters or whatever. Like, here's an example, right? We were talking about Detonate Dead as a league starter, and I mentioned in conversation it's going to be pretty popular for reasons. And someone goes and looks up Detonate Dead on PoE.Ninja and sees that at the top of the ladder it's not really that popular compared to other builds. Well, obviously, as a league starter is not something that people are sitting at level 100 with. And so it's super easy if someone just goes and gets data to actually cause damage. Like, you have to think quite a lot more than that. So we try not to pre-generate data to look at and find problems with. And while it's cool to have heat maps, and I'm sure to make a good image, we haven't bothered. And I mean, we haven't made a concerted effort to buff or nerf specific league mechanics on the Atlas tree. We just fixed a few specific things like certain influence types being too strong. But generally speaking, this isn't path of nerfs for the Atlas tree either. Maybe for the old stuff, but that's pretty obvious there.
It sounded like you might have touched on my question there, my follow-up question, which is about the balance between Exarch and Eater of Worlds influence. In particular, it seemed like one was significantly better than the other.
Yeah, the patch notes are coming out just after this chat, so people will be able to see what we've changed. And our goal was to make Exarch as valuable as Eater, so hopefully we've managed to achieve that.
Have to look at those.
So, answer some of my following questions. We're getting Keystones, and you mentioned ambitious plans to keep expanding the endgame until PoE 2. Does this mean that we will see Atlas Masteries and Cluster Jewels for the Atlas tree and so on?
We have not actually had an internal discussion that brought up Masteries and Cluster Jewels and stuff, aside from when, you showed me a draft of some of these questions and I asked the team what their thoughts were. That was the first time we actually discussed the concept of Masteries and Cluster Jewels for the Atlas. So the intention is that we come up with things that make sense for it being an Atlas, which could be Masteries and Cluster Jewels. Maybe those are great tools, right? But we'd have to actually work it out based on what the Atlas needs at the time.
I can see Masteries. The Cluster Jewels one was I kind of added it as a joke.
Cluster Jewels is.
But then again, I don't know. I feel like it could
I'm not too fond of Cluster Jewels actually.
I didn't use them. Honestly, jewel sockets themselves are good enough, and if you have the right build, you don't really need Cluster Jewels. I mean, you could make an insane ability set with Cluster Jewels, but you kind of have to have a build that's focused on potentially using them.
A Path of Exile player will get to the end game, and then they'll be like, I guess.
The thing is with Cluster Jewels, you can get stats that are hard to get on your side of the tree. That's what makes them good.
That I kind of learned that last week when I was last playing this game. Basically, I was like, oh, so you use Cluster Jewels basically to get these skills. Got it. Okay.
More game, and that means more player agency, more rewards, more content. We have a plan for actual in-game content we're going to roll out, and you'll see it in coming expansions. Like, our goal is that we never have a live stream where we just say, oh yeah, the endgame's fine, we left it how it is. Our goal is basically endgame stuff, just accelerate, push, until PoE 2 comes out.
Well, the idea of you guys do a live stream, you're like, didn't do anything.
Remember how people liked the no character balance? We also did no content, so here's a league 8-second live stream.
We also did no content.
And to be honest, we're really excited that we get to work on the endgame every league. Because previously we kind of had this policy of just touch it once a year and touch it in a big way. And it kind of did feel stale. And if you were to ask me what one of our biggest mistakes was we always come out with leagues that at least I find compelling, and they're generally pretty good. But when we leave the endgame alone, people get to the endgame, they've played the league, and then it's kind of just on faith that they keep playing, having some fun, but there isn't new stuff to do necessarily. So that's why we want to make sure there is new stuff to do when you get to the end for each of your characters all the time going forward.
I think it's been a huge reason for PoE's success. I'm excited to see a more consistent
Yeah, the fucking
role of endgame
Uber
achievements.
bosses seem
Especially
fucking
like, I think
insane.
insane.
Basically, it
Gibbs
seems like
topic with
they
coming, we
took
have
Arch
space,
Nemesis League
like,
like
the
ideas
early game experience is
and
changing in a big
converted
way,
them to
where we can just
end
play the
bosses,
game.
the unique
It's
bosses.
kind of nice. We have a question from
No, I
Untitled Chapter
would
Translate.
not
We
agree
kind of
with
touched
that.
on a
I
little
mean,
bit
there are
before.
Uber versions
With
of Uber
changing the
Elder
Atlas
and
phase in, like, for example,
Uber at
the
Siri
Sentinels
already.
Live
All right,
one,
Although
like I
they're
said,
not as
I'm new to this game, so this is just
yeah,
me
yeah, I
spitballing.
know.
Then they did a big
Yeah.
buff. So
Like
it's just
your
that
scope of
means,
You
knowledge
saying
is
that's giving me
Arch
knowledge.
Nemesis. So
Yeah.
yeah, of course you don't know like all the ins and outs of the game. That's just natural.
But I will eventually learn them just in time for PoE 2 to come out.
Yeah, I mean I have over
We're not saying
2,000
that
hours in
build
PoE.
or
So.
317 is the right
I
build.
understand why.
The goal is that people have to think
Yeah.
and pick their build. There's new challenges that are very hard. There's new pinnacle bosses that are very hard. The high Sentinel content where you can juice up these map bosses to be very hard is also very hard. Your 317 builds may not be the right ones. But if you take a 317 build guide, it will function. There is no hidden nerf that prevents it from doing so. And there may be incidental stuff that goes much further than just the fact that monsters can get more life if you spec a Keystone and that makes your detonate deads better. It does scale DD, right? Yeah. Okay, just checking that. But the builds from last time will work is the important part. We are not saying that the best build from last time is the best build from this time. So you must think before picking your build that you can trust the build guides you read. And if there's something that's exciting, then play that one.
That is interesting, like refreshing kind of. I don't know. It feels refreshing.
I think I'll make
This time
another
around,
Dancing Dervish
this time
build.
We'll
I
break stuff in the
love
future.
that
Like,
fucking
we want
weapon.
a new meta in the future. We are not saying the builds stay this way.
I'm tempted to do another Cyclone build.
And maybe,
Right,
people
but
like that, we might do it again in the future.
there's so many different classes. I gotta start with like a
It's
ranged or
weird because
magic
on that league,
build.
I feel like I should be
Yeah.
always hungering for the new changes to be excited about.
Probably gonna go with
I don't know,
Ranger,
I feel
honestly.
like,
Yeah.
relieved
That's
a little
the side
bit
of
that there's
tree
not, like, a
I'm
bunch of
familiar
class
with.
changes and stuff. So maybe it's like an every now and then thing. It does seem right, but I guess we'll see how it feels after actually playing League. Yeah. So those keystones that change the health and life, do they affect pinnacle bosses or just maps?
They affect monsters in your maps, I believe. How does this technically work?
Yeah, so that terminology typically just refers to the maps in the atlas and pinnacle bosses.
Right. So yeah, in case Andrew wasn't loud, the maps on your atlas are the ones affected by your atlas tree when it's worded like that, and the pinnacle bosses are typically not maps on the atlas.
So the things that do affect pinnacle bosses are probably referred to them specifically.
Okay.
There is like one keystone per Uber fight, which is pretty clear that it makes it really hard. Oh, and here's the thing, by the way, random rant. What we learned from the Maelstrom of Chaos back in closed beta was that you have to have a cost for accessing endgame content. The reason why we made the map system where it consumes the map is so that there's a cost to trying. If you want to try a red tier map, it's going to cost you a lot, right? A whole red tier map. And the reason for this is because we found that players
That was big
play the
back
hardest
then,
content
by the
in
way.
game and then die, and then
Which is
get
why
very
he mentions
angry
it.
and complain and quit. So typically, if you have high content, you have to gate it behind it being hard to get to, like the Simulacrum or blah blah blah. Problem is, here the absolute hardest content is gated behind clicking a keystone. So there are people who are going to play the Uber fights who probably can't complete them. So it's not the case that you should allocate the keystone in order to have a normal Path of Exile experience. This is going to kill you. You have to be really good at the normal Uber fight.
Probably going to die down here.
Before it's worth allocating that
People are
keystone.
gonna
So just
fucking
get your regrets ready.
be mental anyway.
Unallocate
It's gonna
after
happen.
you see how hard it is.
Oh yeah.
You put like one of those warning labels and you have to tear off first before you gain access to the keystone.
Like a child protective lock.
Kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had a long, non-constructive arguments internally about whether this is technically Path of Exile's hardest content, where the answer is, of course it is, look at how hard it is. Or I've come up with a contrived example of some other stuff. But as an example, you know the Theod, for example, where it's got lots of bosses. It's probably on par with that, or a bit above, or a bit below, depending on the individual fight. But that's kind of the scale here. You don't just walk into that fight expecting it to be straightforward. And so these are certainly the hardest, like, solo boss fights with just, like, one or two bosses in them.
Speaking of hard content, are the monsters from the new influence type seeing any changes? In particular, springing to my mind is the tentacle miscreations that appear about 80 of them at the same time and start shooting me all at the same time with tracking, heat-seeking bullets.
So we nerfed the Burning Ground from one of the Eto World's Ultra mods that affects influence monsters. It was like a Burning Ground on death that scale based on attack damage, and certain monsters had really high attack damage, so they
Yeah.
were off the charts Burning Ground. That's
I remember
fixed.
that obliterated me.
Keep the tentacle miscreations as they are for you, Ziggy.
No! Another Ziggy under the bus moment. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, no! I've been giving the 10-minute warnings. All right, let's go. So Arch Nemesis modifiers replacing old Nemesis and Bloodline modifiers. It had some really punitive and scary mechanics, like the stage
Thank you for mentioning this.
and combos that led to truly unkillable nightmares. I made a monster where invited like the most OP people we could find into the map, and they couldn't kill it. However, we had control over making these monsters every time.
And now we don't.
But now it's random. And I know a lot of the time it's going to be like 2 or 3 mods, not 4 a lot of the time, but still, I need reassurance, Chris. I'm very scared.
So there's a lot of balance changes for the Arch Nemesis mods, and most of them are taking things that make sense in the context of Arch Nemesis and that don't make sense in the core game and fixing it. So for example, in Arch Nemesis, you're always fighting just one monster, and it's one that you can control what's on it, so you can pick. But in the core game, it could be several monsters with a mod near you. Like maybe you've got a magic pack, or maybe you've just hit multiple rares near each other. And so an example is the mods that make all of the damage freeze or stun. And of course, that's a problem if there's just monsters all over the place that are doing like entirely freeze or entirely stuns on you. And so that stuff is being fixed. And like, the Ice Monster mod disabled travel skills, whereas now it doesn't, because you kind of can't control when you run into it. So all of the stuff that required a little bit of foreshadowing is a bit less punitive now.
Right,
We've also
that's good.
Yeah, I was about to say, because like,
you know,
that was the kind of shit that terrified me.
Certainly affects it.
It'll make maps stupid hard.
Each mod had a multiplicative life bonus. And so
because I made you know, the ice wall together with all this freeze.
Yeah, and you just
that was a
well,
that was a bad idea.
I'm now a block of ice.
Rare life about the same as it was before, and it doesn't come from their mods. But to be clear, that doesn't mean that the rare monsters are easy. They were too easy before, we feel. They didn't, like, the basic idea is you play Path of Exile and you can kind of zone out and kill the monsters and it's fun and you have your, you know, your power trip and everything's good.
Yep.
And then you run into occasionally a certain combination of rare mods that causes your character to have to pause and maybe do a different strategy.
Yep.
And that's how it's meant to be, that generally rare monsters are fine for you to kill, and sometimes they're hard. And people can try to argue they don't want a game where sometimes it gets hard, but the game we're making is one where sometimes it's hard. And
like I said, he's a hardcore player. He doesn't give a shit. He wants you to die.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, same.
Monsters, right? You can kill most of the rares, and then you run into one of those, and you have to be very careful.
If I want to have a day where I can just zone out, I'll do weak maps.
We do have combinations here that are hard.
I'll play Diablo 3.
Like for a specific monster is not the end of the world. There are other ways of having to recover life, and if this is a game where you cannot be permanently leeching and occasionally you need another way of getting life, we don't feel that that is too bad. But we will make sure that things that are completely out of control are fixed, and there is a long list of changes. Actually, to clarify, there isn't a long list of changes. There's a lot of changes, but the patch notes basically just said we changed a bunch of stuff. It was getting completely out of hand to document it all, and it doesn't really matter because it doesn't affect your builds a lot, so we only covered important points, but the nitpicky detail I don't think is there in the patch notes for these changes.
Okay. We're going to speed through some more questions here. Are there any new skill or support gems this link? What people asking?
No, but we may have made some awakened exceptional support gems and hidden them away behind really hard bosses that no one's actually going to be able to kill and has a very rare chance of dropping them.
Why do you do this to me, Mr. Wilson?
Exceptional support gem.
Fuck.
Oh yeah, that was the thing I was going to discuss. I'll make sure to remember this time.
Really long old support gem.
That is probably in fact the thing that I forgot. And you said Siggy D was going to remind me. He did.
18-word long support gem name.
I'm Oracle.
Okie dokie. Do we have any? Oh yes, this was the question about hard mode. We're circling back to that now. Do we have any update on the previously teased hard
Oh, I do know what hard mode is, by the way.
Oh, so, there you go.
Hard mode is still being worked on, but it is a second priority. And what that means is, if a league is looking great and everything is fine and we're going to release it on schedule at high quality and everything's perfect, we work on hard mode. And if it is not going to be fine and we need to work on the league, we will of course 100% do that. So in no way are we letting hard mode stuff sacrifice any actual work from the core game. And this has meant that in some 3-month periods we just haven't touched it. And it's also tricky because it requires time from a lot of senior people, right? Like, you know, Mark, for example, who is knee-deep in, like, complicated Path of Exile 2 stuff right now, has to be dragged out of that to work on hard mode.
Yeah, Mark is the fucking wizard of their development team.
We do have a schedule.
So their Mark is our Abyss?
I would like to see it released by the end of the year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
Except like Abyss 2.0.
But that's what we're looking for. And because it's announced...
New and improved.
Open
with more dangers.
There's not going to be a big, you know, like there won't be a live stream where we say surprise hard mode's ready. It'll be the case of remember that thing you've been testing for a while. Well, that's getting formally released with some prizes for a competition or whatever. So we will be very open about it.
Does that mean there might be some testing period before then? Maybe
Well,
I
of
think
course.
so, but not quite soon. Like, I'm thinking maybe a test in 3 months, maybe a release in 6, right? But I'm usually wrong, so double or triple or half those numbers, we'll see.
Double or triple or half.
I'd like to discuss
Good numbers.
visual clarity
Great
in
numbers.
Path of Exile if we can for a
What do
little
they
bit.
mean?
So over the years, Path of Exile has become quite good.
Numbers, Jason. What do they mean?
I need to play that game.
Screenshots and videos that are still floating around.
Do you though?
It
I mean,
especially feels that way when you're like leveling and
technically, no.
early end game progression.
Just to get that scene,
doing
like,
this
yeah, and then you're back to
player and
fucking
ability
cop.
all work really well together to both communicate like the gameplay that the game has, but also the game world.
We're playing the classic games like I have been.
However, when Path of Exile scales up, which it does, it scales up a lot these days.
Yes. Yes, it does.
Things rather quickly devolve into like a colorful blur, where both like gameplay understanding is lost and also aesthetics are lost. Is this? What are your thoughts in general on visual clarity in Path of Exile currently? And
It can be a fucking mess.
It's pretty much like
So
I need to
we're not
close
gonna
my eyes
argue
before
that
the
visual
next
clarity
part to
doesn't
fight.
exist,
Yeah.
Like, it's really a matter of what we're doing about it, right? And the most extreme thing we could do would be to pause all other development and just sit there improving visual clarity for ages on every existing thing. And we actually do kind of have the ability to do that in the form of Path of Exile 2, because pretty much everything's getting redone. And so, because they've learned all the lessons from 15 years of work on Path of Exile 1, they can make sure to design stuff in a way where when it scales up, it doesn't lose visual clarity when stacked with other stuff. And so the PoE 2 team, who are working on the version we're all going to eventually be playing in a few years, they know this and are working for it. So the question is, what are we doing for PoE 1? And any new stuff we make involving effects, we try very hard to make sure it has visual clarity. I hope you will find that when you're playing Sentinel, that the Sentinel effects are both relatively subtle but clear as to what is tagged and what rewards they're giving, and they stack with other things appropriately. Let us know if you feel that needs work. We make sure that new stuff that we make works well from a visual clarity point of view, and we do invest occasionally a bit of work in making sure that certain other old effects that are terrible from a visual clarity point of view are improved. But to be honest, a lot of the old PoE 1 graphics get mostly thrown away when PoE 2 comes out and replaces a lot of stuff. So, and by that I mean skills and so on. Like the campaign, yes, that will exist, but the campaign doesn't have visual clarity problems. And we will be playing with Path of Exile 2 skills on our Path of Exile 1 characters in the future.
Yeah, I think that's probably the problem. Like, a lot of the new stuff has been really good, but it kind of gets lost in the background.
Lost in the sauce.
Really
You fucking knew it. You knew it.
Simply. Glad to hear that it's something
Hell
you're
yeah.
considering pretty strongly then moving forwards. Look forward to seeing more progress in that. A lot of people have also been asking in chat about Loot 2.0 as well. I know we've had like little testers or little tastes.
Loot 2.0 is essentially less loot but more impactful loot.
Where are we at in terms of like Loot 2.0?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Axes here, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing is hard mode is going to be good for people that really want
Nice.
to clutter. Like if they really just want it so that items are special when they find each one, they go play that. It's kind of perfect. The second thing is we have been doing things like reducing the number of times you find currency item and increasing the stack sizes. Basically working towards.
Oh, I fucking love
We've
that.
also had
Yeah.
some
God, I
Yes.
love that.
changes
Yes.
related to
Please.
decluttering, which we're
Can you give me that
years
now?
ago that no one has noticed yet.
You already have it.
I know. I'm
That
just
means
saying,
it hasn't
like,
had an effect on the actual
Yeah.
God.
It hasn't had an effect on item drops to the point where people will notice, and we'll gradually continue to tweak that. It's mostly in the form of culling items that would never be picked up, and so the better.
I'm talking to the individual who introduced me to Path of Exile, Kapten Kanin. They're a moderator, but they don't. They live in Sweden, so they can't really show up too often to my streams.
But at the end of the day, there are two ways to declutter, right? Way number one,
I'm boss.
is to
I don't
leave the
care.
spam of rares and uniques that people are used to.
I missed that. What was that?
Where there's quite a lot of item
That you said?
I know we're going over time.
Oh.
Other things, in which case
And he carries
there's
on.
a big pile of yellow items on the ground, and I think we'd be lynched if we did a solution other than that, or to actually like solve itemization issues.
As you can imagine,
and say that
Chris
rares
is
should be special,
beloved
blah blah blah, and that's what hard mode's for, right? We get
by
that
most
a
of
lot
the
people like
community.
the rewards
I mean,
now,
they're
and so
very laid back.
because of
They're
hard
very
mode, there'll be a
chill.
way where
Like,
rewards are very,
Yeah.
very, very precious, and they can play
they're
there.
blunt
In my
about
opinion,
things.
superior experience.
They play the
Whereas
fucking
baseline
game.
PoE will probably still
Yeah.
not have substantial drop nerfs, at least during PoE 1. And then, of course, with PoE 2, we can look at what makes sense, knowing what players like, but also knowing how that game works.
Awesome. Well, I've been giving the time warning quite aggressively. Just kidding. Thank you very much, Chris, for spending some time with us and answering some questions today. I'd appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks
Thanks for hosting.
suggesting stuff. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you. We'll see you guys next time.
All right. At your release.
And in 4 days, we have Bakelast, which is a podcast where Chris is going on.
Ah,
So that's gonna be nice. Alright,
Oh.
so the gem, before I forget.
'Kay.
The awakened enhanced gem. So enhance it's enhanced in power and fuck was the third one? There's a third one. I don't remember. There are 3 gems. One increases the quality of socketed gems. One increases the level of socketed gems, and one reduces the mana reservation of socketed
Oh,
gems.
okay. The mana reservation reduction. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can get them currently up to a maximum of 4 with corruption. You can level them to level 3, and it takes forever. They need so much fucking
So those
XP.
are the ones that you can sell straight up for like exalts and shit like that. I would
Yeah.
assume. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Somebody
I got
somebody was talking to me about that a little while ago.
yeah.
So the 3.18 patch notes right now, the table of context, the Sentinel
Yeah.
Challenge League. You reading these as well or no?
I can read them. See, I'm just gonna.
I'm pretty much just gonna like skim and scan.
I'm just gonna. I guess. No. Fucking god damn it! Do that again.
All right, so they basically are just going over what exactly the league is.
Oh yeah, my guild, Usuks.
Thinking about making a guild. Alright, major new content and features, power core, currency item that destroys 2 sentinels to create a fully charged sentinel, a transforming power core, fully charged sentinel with a combination of that property, amplifying. Yeah, they went over all that. This is what I wanted to read into more. The weaponry combinator, weapon or quiver, an armor recombinator, same thing, and then the jewelry. Okay, so that's basically just taking 2 and making them better. Added 12 new divination cards designed by our supporters. They didn't talk about the divination cards.
Oh, they never do that, but they always release new cards.
Got it.
You essentially buy a token, and that lets you make a card. They used to do that for items back in the beta, I think. If you paid like fucking what was it, like $500 or something
Damn.
crazy like that, you can make an item. That's why the rewards for the race, like create an item, was so
yeah.
unusual because that hasn't been done since the fucking beta, basically.
So they added an audio cue if you attempt to drink a flask that doesn't have enough charges.
Oh yeah, speaking of, I'm gonna. So they
Incrementally
didn't release.
improved sound art, effects, and environments. This is what's crazy to me. The Arch Nemesis modifiers have been rebalanced and added to the core game. Existing magic and rare monster modifiers have been replaced with Arch Nemesis modifiers. Alright. They went over that. 2 Arch Nemesis modifiers by default. From Act 6 onwards, there is a chance to find monsters with 3 modifiers. And in maps, a chance of finding modifiers or monsters with modifiers of 4. Okay, so the only time you're really going to be finding like the really hard ones is in maps. Act 6 onwards, you can find 3. Okay, cool. Magic monsters will have 1 by default. The life experience, increased item quantity, and rarity of magic and rare monsters are no longer primarily determined by the monster's rarity. These are now primarily determined by the type of modifiers on the monster itself. Monster with more or rarer modifiers will have more life, increased item quantity and rarity, and grant more experience. I really like that. Arch Nemesis modifiers are able to be gained by characters through sources such as Headhunter and Inspired Learning, though you are only able to have one instance of each modifier at any given time. Bloodlines and Nemesis have been removed from the core game. The Snowbolt, the Snowbolt and Infernal Bolt Nemesis modifiers has been incorporated into the Frost Strider and Flame Strider Arch Nemesis modifiers. Okay. Storm Herald and Final Gasp Nemesis modifiers can be found as Arch Nemesis modifiers on rare monsters. The Union of Souls, Void Spawn of Abasoth, Spirit Walkers, and Heralds of the Obelisk Bloodlines modifiers have been incorporated into the Arch Nemesis modifier system and can be found on magic monsters. The Atlas passive tree changes. They're talking about the things they went over. All the keystones and all that.
Man, I just fucking want the Mage Bloom map device.
I think the one I'll get
the
is
Rose.
Definitely Wellspring of Creation. They deal less damage but have more life. I'm okay with more tanky monsters because eventually we can just obliterate them regardless.
Yeah, I'm gonna experiment with that probably.
Same. That's probably the one I'm gonna end up sticking with though. Added a new Atlas Keystone passive skill, Insatiable Appetite, which grants the absence of symmetry and harmony is level 785. Eat of Worlds, full power is unleashed in the absence of symmetry and harmony. The Eat of Worlds has a 25% chance to drop an additional exceptional Eldritch Ichor. Thirst for Knowledge, the absence of patience and wisdom is level 75. Syrian Exarch, full power is unleashed. The absence of patience and wisdom. Eldritch currency items dropped by the Syrian Exarch have a 50% chance to be duplicated. Something for the Maven.
Oh.
Elevated Sextant. And Memento Mori. Vortex is 85. Venarius.
Those are so fucking rare, it doesn't even matter.
Venarius drops 3 additional rare items with 3 less common synthesized implicit modifiers.
I have not seen a single fucking Cortex map.
Okay. Sirius, full power is unleashed with the Eye of the Storm is level 85, or the Perfect Storm is the passive. 20% chance to drop an Awakened support gem. Okay, so grinding out Sirius in the future, Pog. The remaining 7 new Atlas Keystone passes will be revealed in upcoming news. Okay, so you're just teasing us for now.
Yay! Oh yeah, does it say when the fucking thing is releasing? Yeah, scroll up, baby. Now we just went into fucking supporter packs. I'm like, yeah, give me that shit.
Man.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get the esteemed Arcanist supporter because God, I love that Mage Bloom map device. The blue rose that's in the middle of your map. Love that thing.
Yeah, that is actually pretty cool.
Too bad it's on the Arcanist and not the Reaper because I like the other stuff from the Reaper more. But God, I just want that thing.
Kirak now offers Maven's Invitation, the Atlas, for the moderate price of 8 Chaos Orbs and 1 Orb of Chance in his shop if you have previously completed this encounter.
8 days.
The Maven releases all bosses at once modifier can no longer roll on Maven's invitations.
Oh, Friday for 13th, huh?
Friday the 13th is when that comes out?
Yep.
Sweet. I'll probably play it. I may do a 24-hour stream of this game, then. When the new thing comes out.
Yeah, you might just get to maps faster than me. Maybe.
I mean, I will make an attempt at that.
Yeah. If you play like remotely faster than you did last time.
Well,
then, yeah,
I mean,
you
mind you, this time I'm not going to go through any of the lore because I've already done that. Alright?
Yeah, that'll save you, like, well, probably
30 hours.
Yeah.
Operative strong boxes can no longer drop polished scarabs in white maps or gilded and winged scarabs in white or yellow maps.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Speaking of the scarab thing, I might invest a bit into that this time. But scarabs are nice.
The scarabs, yeah, they're nice little additions, for sure.
But the thing with not dropping in white maps is because it was fucking.
The following maps
Jesus
have been
Christ.
added back into the Atlas:
Abused.
Alleyways, Arena, Barrows, Bog, Colonnade, Core, Crystal Ore, Desert, Factory, Foundry, Fungal Hollow, Lava Lake, Mud Geyser, Park, Pit, Ramparts, Reef, Residence, Spellock, Sunken City, Terrace, Tropical Island, Villa, and Wharf. The following maps have been removed from the Atlas: Ancient City, Arachnid
Okay.
Nest. Okay, so I actually did the Arachnid Nest. Belfry, Channel, Coliseum, Conservatory, Coves, Defiled Cathedral, Dig, Estuary, Flooded Mine, Forbidden Woods, Forking River, Ghetto Graveyard, Haunted Mansion, Iceberg, Malformation, Phasmorgia, Shipyard, Shrine, Silo, Stagnation, and Vault. Half of those maps I did.
I think I did all of those. I actually did a lot of maps. I actually got really high maps, like the highest I've ever done. I did the most progress I've ever done.
I think
this
the
league,
highest
actually.
map I did was a tier 12 map or tier 11. I know I did a tier 11, I think.
Yeah, I've done tier 6. I've done one tier 16 before, but never. But this time I've actually farmed some tier 16s, and I've never done that before.
The following maps can now be found as blighted maps: Acid Caverns, Bone Crypt, Caldera, Cells, Cursed Crypt, Dungeon, Gardens, Glacier, Laboratory, Lair, Lookout, Mausoleum, Museum, Necropolis, Overgrown Shrine, Tower, Toxic Sewer, Underground River, and Raced Pool. I actually have done all of those, I think. Some of the map bosses you are required to defeat to upgrade your Pantheon have changed as a result of these Atlas changes. Crafting recipes that were previously unlocked in maps that have been removed are now found within other maps currently on the Atlas. Oh, excuse me. Vol vessels found in the Vol Temple map no longer have a bonus chance to drop Vol Temple maps.
Oh, rude.
A couple of other things, like some divination cards have found new homes as a result of these Atlas changes. The price of protection can now drop in Vol side areas and maps. Azarian's reward can now drop in the laboratory. Humility can now drop in the frozen cabins. The offspring can now drop in the peninsula, and Zinnia's token can now drop in the map.
Humility is the only one I know of those. It's one of the most famous divination cards. It's the one that that gives you tabula rasa with 9 humility.
Okay.
And then there's vanity, which is 9 vanity cards. You get a corrupted tabula rasa.
Ah.
And the thing why that is so good, because you can get +1 level to all socketed gems, which is the best results.
They're talking about a lot of divination cards changes with item changes. Yeah, kind of funny how like these.
Honestly, you probably don't even have to bother because you won't understand. I won't understand either. So.
Well, I'm just like skimming and scamming over them. I'm kind of laughing because like this is the only thing that they really have changed, because they're pausing.
They're listing anyway.
Yeah, well, they're pausing gems and stuff like that because that's a weird. Even for somebody that's new to the game, that sounds weird.
Yeah, it's the first time ever. They've never done that before. But it seems like they're more willing to experiment. Nah, they've all experimented.
Well, technically, it's like they're more willing to take risky experimentations because.
Well, then again, you never witnessed Harvest and the aftershock.
True.
That was hard. Jesus Christ. People are Harvest is like a year old now, probably even more, and people are still fucking going apeshit about Harvest.
Rename the influence section of the currency stash tab to exotic.
Alright. Fair enough.
Tweak the display of various currency items into the default loot filter. I don't use the default loot filter. Aha.
Aha. I have a tendency of using it like the first day when I can't be bothered getting the loot filter and allow them to change it. And I'm like, just scamper on.
Just
and
Use the whatever you loot
filter blade.
Yeah.
Never sink.
Fix an issue where the Infinite Hunger's vomit skill was not applying poison correctly. Fixed a bug where the gaze into the abyss's Atlas passive was not applying in the Shaper's realm. Fixed a bug with Eldritch altars that caused map bosses to drop additional Eldritch currency, or drop the incorrect currency type in yellow tier maps. Fixed a bug where an Orb of Conflict could not be used on items with Syrian Exarch or Eater of Worlds implicit modifiers if they also had the item cells for much more vendors implicit modifiers. Fixed an issue where operative strong boxes with the contains additional map currency items modifier were dropping more map currency items than intended. Fixed an issue where the enslaver's projectiles from their slam attack could stack up in a single spot. Fixed a bug where Molten Minotaur's enraged swipe attack was dealing the incorrect amount of damage. Fixed a bug where the unique bosses are possessed map modifier sometimes would not work correctly in maps with multiple map bosses. I think I've actually experienced that bug. Fixed a bug where the iceberg map could generate inside out, resulting in bridges that lead to nowhere.
Okay, interesting.
No, I didn't experience that one. Fixed a bug where the map device would deselect map crafting modifiers after opening a map alongside a fragment or scarab. Yeah, I experienced that bug. Frogs crafting recipe options that reroll prefixes or suffixes multiple times were not rolling a set of modifiers independently. Okay. Hold on a second. I gotta step away for a minute.
Yeah, I'm gonna go PP as well, so.
All right. I have returned.
Fancy.
Had to help with something really quickly. Fixed a bug where the you have onslaught while not on low mana modifier on the Ami whatever unique boots did not always work correctly if your maximum mana was 0. Fixed a bug where hinder applied through the aspect of the spider skill was not slowing enemies. Fixed a bug where maps obtained by turning in the Easy Stroll Divination card did not have 20% quality. Fixed a bug where the Surgeon Divination card was incorrectly awarding a flask with the Medics prefix modifier when turned in. Fixed a bug where filtering for a unique map by name in the map stash tab would also highlight the Conqueror and Guardian maps section. Fixed a bug where heist monsters were missing their dialogue. Fixed a bug where experimented base types did not have hit audio. Fixed an uncommon client crash. And the first response, Pog.
Yeah.
That's great.
3 letters fast to type.
A couple people typed Pog. Yeah, they was pretty much right. They just went over a lot of the changes that they've already made, and like we've changed a lot. Have fun.
Yeah. And it's usually the gem balance that people care about anyways.
And they didn't, and they're not. That's
Yeah, they're not doing anything, so yeah.
so you know that last build you enjoyed. You can enjoy it this league too.
Wee. Yeah, there were 2 builds I enjoyed. Unusually much. One was a Dancing Dervish, but that's my favorite skill, so
That's like your main
nothing
build.
strange there. Yeah.
My main build may end up being a Cyclone. I just love being a blender, honestly.
Yeah. This time I'm also gonna be a blender. Actually, I'm gonna be a blender with my blender.
Ah, a blender within a blender. Blenderception.
Yes. So I'm gonna use Cyclone, and my Dancing Dervish is also gonna use Cyclone.
Okay, so
3 blades.
that's crazy. Spin to win.
Yay!
I love how
The
spin
other
to win
one,
builds are just the best.
yeah, that is great. And the other one was a, both were weapons that grant skills. One was Dancing Dervish, and the other one was at series Decree.
Nice.
I think the staff is called. It gives you basically you cast a spell. The spell does nothing, but it triggers another spell. And it cycles between two.
I kind of know what that's is. I was looking at that skill gem and I thought that's a weird one. Moving on.
It's not even a skill gem. It's
or not the skill gem, whatever it's called.
the item.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to check this out. That one was nice. I got far with that. Let's see. Oh yeah, poison concoction is something I might. Oh yeah, yes, queen. A series rule. And it's also nice because it has the little text, cannot be stunned. Oh boy. That is so fucking nice.
Queen.
Yes, queen. Yes.
I'm excited because it's a week and a day, basically, for the next league to pop out. At least for PC players.
No, fuck the other guys. Who cares about them?
Yeah, right? PC Master Race. Says somebody who's primarily played on console.
Yeah.
I am actually going to step away and get some food. This was fun. Definitely.
Yes.
Most surely. We'll have to do it more in the future, of course.
CC. Probably during PoE. And after that, Arc.
Oh god, Arc. That's gonna be real degenerate hours for that game.
Hell yeah.
I've literally I uninstalled it as soon as we were quote unquote done because I was like, if I don't uninstall this game, I'm gonna get
it's gonna end badly.
Yeah. I like having some free time currently. But yeah, I do look forward to that. And I look forward to when we play Arc having Abyss on call as well.
Yes. That is very true.
Okay, yeah, fuck you too.
Oh, is he in chat?
Yeah. I opened the
Yeah.
Discord thing. All right.
Oh yeah.
Jackass.
Why is it so big?
Uh,
Alright, see ya, man.
yeah. See ya. Bye-bye. Oh, that's fun. All right, I'm gonna actually step away and get myself some breakfast, or not breakfast, dinner, and then I'll be back to get back to a regularly scheduled program. Of I have no idea what. So I'll be back momentarily.